It is less than a day before the NBA draft, and the Toronto Raptors are busy giving me a headache because there's a lot of stuff floating around the ether coming from a lot of credible sources that the Toronto Raptors are trying to do a lot of stuff. They're trying to unload RJ. They're not trading Jakob, but they're going for Kevin Durant, but they're going for somebody else, but they're not really doing anything, are they? And there is actually a slew of trades that went off, two of which involved the Boston Celtics today. We're going to talk about that. So we're definitely going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the report around Noah Essengue because there are a lot of people reporting that Noah Essengue, we're actually going to learn how to pronounce these guys' names first and foremost because I swear I butcher half of them. So we're gonna learn to pronounce these guys' names. We're gonna learn about Noah. We're gonna talk about what the report says around him, and we're gonna talk about the breaking report around Carter Bryant that he did not work out for the Toronto Raptors. And no, I do not agree with Aaron Rose that it's the same thing as Jacoby's situation, and I'll explain to you why that is. We are also going to plug some stuff. Number one, this video just dropped on the neuroscience and psychology of sleep and scouting prospects. I thought it was a pretty cool episode. Comments notwithstanding, come on, man. Y'all be for real. So I thought it was a good episode. Hopefully you guys can check that out, learn something new that you don't know already. That was really cool. Tomorrow, the big board drops. Okay. The final big board draft season is here. Tomorrow is the NBA draft. So we are definitely going to drop a big board tomorrow afternoon, probably around 3 o'clock. I'm inclined to say 3 o'clock. It's going to be a really busy day. Number one, I'm going to be on the panel tomorrow. PC, lock in. It's going to be a draft episode. From what I'm told, we're doing a mock draft. As these things go, who knows if we're going to actually do a mock draft or just talk about Kristaps Porzingis. We'll see what happens. But I'm told we're doing a mock draft tomorrow. And I think it would be pretty much malpractice at this point for us to not do a mock draft because John D is going to be on there and I'm going to be on there. And we're probably going to get a lot of pushback on some of the prospects that we like. So that's happening tomorrow at 11 a.m. 3 p.m. My big board drops. I'm going to work on it tonight. Do final scouting bits. I want to watch one or two more Noah Essengue games just to kind of get my footing on him. And there's a couple more prospects that I just want to do a little bit more catch-up scouting. But I'm pretty confident that I understand this draft pretty well at this point. And then tomorrow at 7 p.m., I believe our show starts at around 6 o'clock or 6:30. Harrison and I are going to walk you through the entire first round. We're going to be there with you. We're going to cry with you. We're going to celebrate with you. We're going to see what happens. We're going to break all these things down. Harrison and I have done a lot of work scouting this draft, man. We're talking 1 through 100. There's not a single prospect that I have not watched full games of at this point. There are some prospects maybe deeper in the draft where if they rise up, surprise Bruno Caboclo style, maybe I'll be a little bit caught off guard. But you know what? That's why Harrison's there, because he won't be caught off guard. Harrison is a really smart dude. I don't know if you guys always agree with what he has to say. I certainly don't agree with everything he has to say, but he is very well researched, and we're going to have you covered with the best draft show and best draft coverage in Toronto Raptorland. Dare I say, the best draft coverage anywhere in the world. I'm aiming for it. I'm aiming for it. We're going to have a lot of goods. We're going to have a lot of stats. We're going to have a lot of everything. There's not just going to be a yap session. We're going to really try our best to be the most informative. So my hope is that if you watch our draft show tomorrow, super chats are welcome. E-transfers are welcome. Time is not free, but I appreciate y'all for tuning in. There's usually like 800, 900 people right around when the draft Raptors pick. Maybe tomorrow we can make it 1,000. Maybe we can make it 2,000. Who knows? Tell your friends. This is where you got to watch the draft. Okay. So that's all happening tomorrow. But today we got to talk about this draft. And we're going to talk about the fact that a day ago, or it was like 36 hours ago, I think I said on one of these podcasts that I know a way to confirm very easily if Carter has worked out for Toronto, but I'm scared to ask. Well, unfortunately, I asked. And if you've noticed, I've talked a lot about other players. I've been having a lot of doomsday type of prognostications. I've been, you know what I mean? Like what a tone shift from a month ago. Like Carter's the guy. Carter's going to be the guy. And then, a couple of days ago, like I am emotionally preparing for Kasparas Yakuchonis. Do you know what I mean? There's been a little bit of a shift in my confidence, not in Carter, but in the Raptors' ability to identify him. Now, I got to tell you, if you've been with this channel from the very beginning, you know that I was very bearish on a lot of moves that the Raptors made. You know that, right? You know that I was screaming into a microphone, no, no, no. when they traded for Jakob Poeltl. You know for a fact that I had a pretty incredible crash out over Grady Dick. I've had some issues with the way the Raptors have gone about things. I didn't love the Dennis Schroeder thing. I kind of talked myself into the Ochai trade and the Kelly Olynyk thing. I thought Kelly was overpaid. I thought RJ was a little overrated last year. I definitely felt Emmanuel Quickley was criminally overpaid by the Toronto Raptors. And again, as I try to sort of negotiate all these moves in my head, I'm also admiring what the other general managers around the league are doing, specifically Sam Presti, Sean Marks, right? There's a lot of GMs doing a lot of good work. And there's that old quote by a certain, heavyset man in Philadelphia where he once said the best place to operate in the league is when 7 or 8 teams don't know what they're doing. And it currently feels like there just aren't 7 or 8 teams that don't know what they're doing. Maybe you can point to Charlotte. They don't really always know what they're doing. Cool. You can point to Phoenix. Name the third team that doesn't know what they're doing. Portland knows what they're doing. Maybe the Pelicans don't know what they're doing based on the trade they made today. Maybe they don't know what they're doing. But you know what? A lot of people like the trade they made. So I'm trying, very much over the last year and a half as the Raptors shifted philosophy and started to, sort of structure and build around Scotty to say, okay, well, look, I wanted this all along. I wanted them to, change the culture, and they did. I wanted them to hire a coach who had a more evolved way of thinking about the game, and they did. Last year, I was very, very happy with their draft. No shade on their draft. But I got to tell you, I have a bit of a halo effect with Masai Ujiri. I've admired the guy since I first met him in 2007. I've followed his entire career. Like if I had to do my Mount Rushmore of people that I admire in the world, he's like up there. I don't know if he's in the top 4, but if Mount Rushmore includes 10 people, I guarantee you Masai Ujiri is on my Mount Rushmore. It's very difficult for me to ever summon the courage in my own convictions and my own analysis to be so confident to say, I know something Masai Ujiri does not know. One, I'm not supposed to know things Masai Ujiri doesn't know. He's older than me. He's smarter than me. He's more experienced than me. He has way, way, way more knowledge of this game than I do, assuming, But then I'm also reminded that so many greats have fallen, and I try not to be critical of Masai and Bobby because I have a tremendous amount of respect for them. And I try to gloss over some of the mistakes they've made, the Kelly Olynyk contract, the Jakob Poeltl trade. I try not to think about Jakob, even though I tell you, like, sometimes I'll just be sleeping at night and, you wake up in a cold sweat and you're like, shit, we really prioritize Fred VanVleet's feelings over Victor Wembanyama, especially when you see what Wemby's becoming, what Amen is becoming, what Kaysen is becoming, what Derek is becoming. To walk away from that draft with Grady Dick, it still hits, man. I mean, I'm not down on Grady. I think Grady's fine. Grady's cool. I hope he becomes better. But right now, that doesn't look good. It doesn't look good considering where you were and what you got out of that. There's been a lot of missteps along the way for the Raptors. And so I want to do a little bit of an investigative deep dive because I think it's very important to understand your own biases. And if you are, in fact, operating with a halo bias with respect to a particular talent evaluator, draft evaluator, general manager, you need to check yourself. You need to be like, hey, I wanna see what everyone is saying about, maybe Masai hasn't done the greatest job here. Okay. Maybe things are going a little bit wrong here. So I wanna do that first, and then I want to scale it back. And then I want to talk about the Noah Sang report. And then I want to talk about Carter Bryant and RJ Barrett, the nature of contracts, what the Anthony Simons trade teaches us, and these trades. I'm going to try. Okay. I'm going to try to be very organized with this, but let's start here. Okay. So I want to read this out because I wrote this out and I think that it's important. How great are the Raptors at drafting? Pretty great, but they're not perfect. Let's look at the biggest mistakes over the last 5 years. And I'm not including trading for Jakob, not tanking for Wemby, and the subsequent loss of their 2024 first because my brain can't handle an aneurysm right now. Because honestly, Nikola Topic, Matas Buzelis, those are guys that would go top 10 in this draft. Those are guys that were available when your pick came up last year. Assuming that you like those guys were on the board for you. That's a pick you gave up for Jakob Poeltl. The fact that you didn't know in advance that that's the pick, whatever, right? I was very, very happy about the Brandon Ingram trade. I thought, shit, like Indiana's going to be really, really good. Fine, I get it late first, but now you kind of gave up an asset that looks a lot better today than the one you gave up. And I really hope Brandon Ingram's healthy. I really do. But as much as I think, wow, the Raptors really robbed the Pelicans, I'm looking at the trade today and how Atlanta just got Kristaps Porzingis for the 22nd pick, and I'm like, it's kind of similar value, right? Brandon Ingram, injury prone. Kristaps Porzingis, injury prone. Probably Kristaps has more of a scalable value if he's healthy. I don't know, man. I got to tell you, I really don't know. Like, I'm really excited about Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes together, and there's a conflicting side of me. But man, if he gets injured, you really are facing the music because you traded for this. You traded for it. You traded a first for it. They had no interest in bringing him back. Could you have traded a worse first? Now you're thinking, right? Do you trust yourself enough that, maybe you trade 2028? Are you that locked in on Scotty Barnes' future? I don't know. But also, I'm not going to say insult to injury, but Brandon Ingram signing that $40 million deal, as much as I think that's pretty okay value for Brandon Ingram, and I think he's going to be great. And I'm a huge fan. Please understand. Don't interpret this as Rob's cold on Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram, one of my favorite players, been one of my favorite players for years. I'm looking at the market, guys. I'm looking at the market for guys who don't defend at the super highest level and aren't the most portable and are on-ball guys who don't necessarily have the greatest efficiency. If this does not work out, that is a big matzo ball on your fucking cap sheet. $40 million is not an easy deal to move if he gets injured. So, you know what I mean? Like you gotta look at this as a scale of value. Look at what Desmond Bain went for. Look at what Anthony Simons went for, and now go on draft Twitter or go on NBA Twitter and debate those two players, and you will find that the way GMs are evaluating contracts in the modern CBA, guys like Desmond Bain are going for 3 multiples of what guys like RJ Barrett and guys like Brandon Ingram are going for. And I don't want to compare RJ and Brandon Ingram and Anthony Simons, but the truth is, shot makers who aren't superstars, that's the prototype. That's the part of the game that's getting undervalued. Jalen Green is a great example. I saw a lot of people trying to debate me on the panel that Jalen Green is more valuable than Scotty Barnes. Miss me with that bullshit. That's not true. That is just simply not true. Scotty Barnes is worth much more in any trade with any team than Jalen Green will, I don't want to say ever be worth, because certainly he could morph into something that I'm not expecting, but that's the point here. Okay. So I want to look at the draft record. Okay. 2019. Now, this is a little bit nitpicky. This is me getting really critical for no fucking reason whatsoever, but I want to be clear. In 2019, with 59th pick, the Raptors picked DeJuan Hernandez over Lou Dort, Naz Reid, Max Strus, and Dean Wade, all of whom went undrafted. Now, again, you leave it up to chance when you let guys go undrafted, then you try to sign them. But DeJuan Hernandez was absolutely horrible. Did not work out. I don't think he played like much of anything. Did he make the opening night roster? He was not good. And I feel like it was pretty obvious from the jump that he was not going to be good. But leave it to the Raptors, right? Number 20 in 2020, Malachi Flynn over Desmond Bain. But also Isaiah Joe in the second round. Again, if I'm going to blame Nick Nurse and the culture, that's the only out that I will give the Raptors organization for the failures of some of their draft picks, because Lord knows I actually did believe in Delano Banton. 2021, Delano Banton and David Johnson over Aaron Wiggins, who went 55th. If you remember, Banton and Johnson went 46 and 47. So 8 picks later, Austin, you had over Aaron Wiggins, Austin Reeves, Jose Alvarado, and Trendon Watford. Those are all players that went after. 2022, Christian Koloko, another guy that I loved, right? I liked Christian Koloko. I had him like top 25 on my board. I liked Peyton Watson a lot that year too. I heard a lot of stuff about the Raptors liking David Roddy, which, I mean, if true, that would be a huge mistake. So glad they didn't go that way. But they drafted Christian Koloko over Max Christie, Jalen Williams, Vince Williams. And how much would it have taken for the Raptors to move up a couple of spots in the second round and go get Andrew Nembhard? How much would that have actually taken? He went 1 pick or 2 picks before you. So that's kind of the stuff, right? It's like, are we spoiled? OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, these are like home runs. These are not bunts. These are not, I don't know enough about baseball to continue this, but this isn't like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, are we just spoiled? How many teams go and find an undrafted point guard like Fred VanVleet who becomes an all-star? Like, nobody. The Raptors are the only one. But when you start really thinking about the huge monumental successes, everything is before the bubble. Everything's before COVID. What's the monumental success? I swear to God, there's a lot of GMs who would have taken Scotty Barnes over Jalen Suggs. You all want to act like It was just the Raptors. It wasn't just the Raptors. And I have intel. I have a friend who works for the Oklahoma City Thunder who said they were enamored with Barnes. They did everything to try and move up to get him, but then they realized they couldn't because nobody wanted to move out of the top 4 spots, and the Raptors took him. The Magic loved Scottie. They loved him. So Scottie was just an open secret. The Raptors just happened to be the team with the highest pick in that order. But, I'm reminded the Raptors were supposed to pick 7th. Would they have picked Jonathan Kuminga? And now what's your record? Right? I think back to that. Scottie is saving a lot of, this reputation of these guys cook all the time because there isn't a lot else, right? Again, 2023, Grady Dick over. And I'm saying it's too early to tell, but the analytics do not look good for Grady Dick. Now, I'm going to give Grady a lot of grace because he is not a physically developed guy yet. He has a very complicated role. He hasn't been around the players that I expect him to be. This is a guy who was drafted to be a shooter, like a sniper, and he hasn't been. He has not been better, in my opinion, than Cam Whitmore. And I have a lot of issues with Cam Whitmore. I don't like Cam Whitmore, but Cam Whitmore is a lot higher on my board than Grady Dick. Jordan Hawkins was higher on my board than Grady Dick. And Jordan had a really bad year last year after a pretty promising rookie year. There's a lot of players, man. A lot of players. Brandon Pajimski. Shit, that works with Scottie. Jaime Jaquez. That works a little bit. Although, I mean, honestly, if we picked Jaime Jaquez over Grady Dick, I would have crashed out pretty hard. 2024, Jacoby Walter and Jonathan Mobo, I love these guys. But this is like the personal stuff. You start talking to these guys, trainers, you start watching them, you watch them in summer league, you need something to root for, you cope with it, but you got to be honest about this, right? Did Jacoby flash some sort of like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander type of potential here where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we got a lot of, not really. I mean, there's flashes of brilliance, but there's also a really good chance that he's just a really good role player. Jury's still out. Cannot write the book on a player who's a rookie. And Jacoby works really hard, and I'm a huge buyer, and I am like unreasonably high on Jacoby. He's one of my favorite players on this team. I wouldn't trade him for like a top 15 pick in this year's draft. Wasn't as good as Matas Buzelis, wasn't as good as Keloware. Where I was very low on. Matas Buzelis, I was very high on. He wasn't as good as Ibmisi. And Lord help me, if you go and you get Asa Newell tonight, this year at number 9, I'll argue Ibmisi might be better. So it's like, shit, man. And it's like, I got to watch Matas Buzelis cook up. And people are comparing him to Franz Wagner. And it's like, bro, that was your fucking pick. Number 8, that was your pick. If next year Nikola Topic comes out and surprises everyone and wins Rookie of the Year or something, and 6th Man of the Year, I mean, I don't win Rookie of the Year because he was on a stacked team, but let's say he looks like a fucking future all-star. That's another player you just lost for Jakob Poeltl. You have to scale the value of this. If Jakob Poeltl is worth so much, go try to trade him and see what you get. Can you get the first rounder that you even traded for him? Here's a thought experiment. Donovan Clingan went 7th, right? You gave it the 8th pick last year. You were actually slated to pick 6th. So in a weird way, you almost didn't even keep this pick. Like that's the kind of fucked up thing that I'm thinking about a little bit because you're kind of lucky you moved down. But okay, I'll bite. Let's just say you get the 6th pick and you actually pick Donovan Clingan. Is Donovan Clingan worth like considerably more than Jakob Poeltl right now? Yeah, he is. He is actually worth more than Jakob Poeltl. So I say all of this to say it's not perfect. It's not perfect. You give Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster credit because they brought a championship to Toronto. You give them credit for stabilizing the ship after it went so wrong. But you know what? If some schmuck like me could see what was going wrong with this organization 2 miles away, I was calling it in 2021, just by the way. Anyone who's following me way back when on Facebook and stuff, and this is like right around PENSARE Basketball's launch, I was talking about this Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Scottie Barnes dynamic right from 2021. If you spot it right then, be proactive, make a move. Once it's not going to work, make a decision. If it's not going to be those guys, then go trade Scottie for Kevin Durant. Don't try to cross the border and sit on both sides. I hate when teams do this. And I don't care how you feel about the return that the Raptors got for OG Anunoby, but OG Anunoby is exactly the type of player that today would go for 4 first-round picks. So why were we not able to get even one? It's a question. It's a question that I have fought against my whole time. The last 2 years been like, guys, come on, RJ's good, IQ's good, Jonathan Mobley's good. But it's like today, could you trade those players back? Could you trade them back? Could you ask for a trade back with the Knicks right now? Is any team, if given the option between just one OG Anunoby at $36 million or RJ Barrett plus Emmanuel Quickly plus Jonathan. Which of those two things do you think is worth more in the trade market right now? Money is not free, guys. And players like Anthony Simons are being dumped. He is 25 years old. He is a high volume 3-point shooter. He is not a great defender. He is actually that. It is actually disingenuous to say Anthony Simons is not a great defender. He is a pylon. He is a pylon. But you know who else is a pylon? RJ Barrett and Grady Dick. Should you not have seen that coming? Could you not have anticipated that maybe these guys are just not good defenders, and those players are typically not the ones that are going to hold value? The Knicks saw it coming, man. It kind of sucks to get cooked by the Knicks on a deal like that, but I'm not trying to be totally bearish. I'm just saying the Raptors are not above critique. They're not above trust in Masai. We can't just do that. That's blind. That's stupid. We can't just completely throw it to, okay, well, whatever they do, it's got to be great. Because you know what? We did that. We tried that. It doesn't always work out great. What did you get for Christian Koloko? He ends up going to the LA Lakers. You don't get anything for it. What did you get for it? Who did you waive? And it's like, if you believed in him, why waive him? Why even let that happen? What was the point of that? You get my point? Like, it's just kind of like you keep trading away these first round picks. You traded away a first round pick to get off of Kem Birch's contract. Who gave him the fucking contract? You traded another first. I want to argue you traded half a first to get off of Kelly Olynyk's contract. Kelly Olynyk just got salary dumped 3 times in a row to the contract you fucking signed. When people talk about the Washington Wizards being idiots for giving Bradley Beal that contract, look at all the contracts the Raptors have given out. These are not good contracts. So if you've already identified as an organization that you suck at giving contracts out because everyone comes back to you with, oh, I don't want to play in Canada, taxes, blah, 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 pay me 15% more, I'm going to walk. Well, if that's your negotiation power, why don't you stop trading for players who are expiring contracts? Why don't you start trading for players who are already on 4-year deals, who have already signed their fucking contracts in San Antonio or Denver or frankly, anywhere else? You know what I mean? Like, even when I think about Davion Mitchell, a player that I was, not very high on, I swear to God, the Miami Heat clearly wanted that guy. They played him so much. Gauging that level of interest, are you telling me you couldn't have squeezed out a second-round pick for him? I'm seeing players that are barely playing going for 3-4 second-round picks. You couldn't get more than 1 second-round pick for Davion Mitchell. He was playing high rotation minutes for you. Why was he playing high rotation minutes for you? So you could milk his salary? The Bruce Brown fiasco. What the fuck was that? Why? And again, now I think about the trades that happened today. Not to be super bearish, but think about the trades that happened today. Boston dumps Jrue Holiday, somehow gets 2 second-round picks from Portland. I swear to God, if that was the Raptors trying to dump Jrue Holiday, they would have been the one attaching the pick. I swear, these negotiators, they're like the hostage negotiators that'll just be like, we'll give you everything, just give us one. Just give us one. We'll give you free passage. Just give us one fucking hostage. It's like they negotiate with themselves, and they're fucking crazy for it. Think about it, man. Like, how many times DeMar Carroll, boom, sign into a stupid contract, have to pay off a first-round pick to get off of the contract. Kem Birch, sign into a stupid contract. And in every one of those cases, I swear to God, I was right there screaming, that's a stupid contract. That's a stupid. No, in fairness, I also, by the way, called Fred VanVleet's contract overpay, and I was wrong. I was wrong about that. He was criminally underpaid. So I'm not always right about this. I will concede. I'm not pretending to be some know-it-all, whatever. I've been wrong plenty of times. But still, I can't help but think, as I evaluate my last 3 years of evaluation versus the 3 years of the track record, I can't help but think I might have done a better job with these decisions. And if it's even debatable in my own mind, in my delusional reality, that I might have done a better job with some of these moves, I have to question the moves today. Now, again, Jrue Holiday gets dumped to Portland, but Portland ends up giving the young player who is, relatively cheap, saves. You realize the Boston Celtics saved almost $200 million in their tax bill? Everybody knew. They had no leverage, no negotiating power. People could have taken this to the fucking cleaners. They could have asked for every pick they had because they had to trade these players. And apparently Portland, and then subsequently Brooklyn, who fleeced, by the way, Brooklyn fleeced in that deal, took Terrence Mann's contract for the 22nd pick. Great. And Atlanta, like, all of these deals are showing me Boston understands what they're doing. Brad Stevens understands how to negotiate from a position of weakness. Because when everybody knows that you have to shed salary, you're not paying. It's the openest secret. If you followed me on the panel, I said this in January or February, whenever the hell the team was sold. I'm like, that team is getting parsed out for parts. They're going to trade KP. They're going to trade Drew. They might trade Jaylen Brown. They might trade Derek White. They're going to trade whoever they can. If they couldn't trade Drew, they're going to have to trade somebody else. They're not paying $200 million to not win a championship. It's not going to happen. The people who bought the fucking team are not passionate about basketball. They're passionate about money, and they paid a lot of money as it is to buy this team. They're not going to continue to lose money. It's not rocket science. You don't need to be a genius to figure out what position the Celtics were negotiating from. And yet, here we are. The Celtics kind of make out okay. I mean, they didn't get much value, but what were they really trading? They were trading a 35-year-old Drew Holiday who's coming off, a shaky season with 2 years left at an enormous contract. And they get back a younger player on much less money, and they get 2 second-round picks. That was weird to me. I don't even rate Anthony Simons like that. He's a pylon. He's not going to help you win basketball games. That's fine. That's whatever. I don't even care about that. I'm not watching that. But I'm just saying, when everybody knows that you had to, and you still don't have to completely kill yourself to do that, that's pretty great. That's pretty great negotiating. This Kristaps Porzingis trade, obviously, this is, breaking news today. Kristaps Porzingis ends up in Atlanta. Another soft contender, I don't know if I want to call him contender, emerges. They set this up 6 months ago when they shed off all those contracts, and everyone was like, what are y'all doing? Bogdanovich is good. This guy's good. Terrence Mann, what are we doing here? DeAndre Hunter, Karis LeVert, what are we doing here? Well, it was all about cap clearing. It was all about cap clearing so you could do something like this. Kind of makes you think that a Kelly Olynyk contract might be a hell of a lot more valuable right now, huh? And speaking of Kelly Olynyk, he gets traded. And it's just like, I'm not really sure how I feel about this one. To be completely clear, I'm not really sure. Like, what are the Pelicans doing? I think I have identified the team that officially does not know what the fuck they're doing. It is the Pelicans, probably. Jordan Poole. They get off of, Kelly Olynyk going to Washington with CJ McCollum. That's a lot of money. Jordan Poole going back. That's an interesting deal. Let's take a look at that deal for a sec. I just want to make sure that I have the right particulars on that. So it is CJ McCollum to the Wizards for Jordan Poole, Saddiq Bey, and the number 40 pick. New Orleans is also sending Kelly Olynyk and a future second-round pick to Washington. Now, it's very interesting that Kelly Olynyk is not included in the first line. I don't understand why Bleacher Report, former employers of mine, are so clunky with their reporting here, but the deal is CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second-round pick to the Wizards for Jordan Poole, Saddiq Bey, and the number 40 pick. Who wins this deal? You know what? There are no winners in this deal. There are only losers. But I will say this, from a team culture perspective, I would vastly prefer CJ McCollum in my locker room. Like, you know what I mean? You got CJ McCollum, you got Marcus Smart, you got Malcolm Brogdon in there. That's a lot of expiring salary. You know who I think is doing a great job in the East, low-key? Washington. Getting rid of Kyle Kuzma. Negative asset. Getting rid of all these losing-ass players and then bringing in winning players to coach up young players. Washington's going to be a problem in a couple of years, yo. Brooklyn's going to be a fucking problem. Detroit is already starting to be a problem. And it's like I'm looking around at these teams that were a laughingstock last year, and I'm like, the Raptors are kind of like competing with these teams now. And their executive leadership is more active, more proactive, and more innovative in a lot of ways than ours. And it's kind of bugging me. This is a decent trade. This is a very decent trade. I don't really get it for the Pelicans. I don't understand why anyone would want to touch Jordan Poole and Saddiq Bey for the number 40 pick. But hey, who knows? Let's see. Let's see what they do. I think this is shaping up to be a very, very active offseason. Okay, briefly, before we talk about Noah Essengue and the reports and the pronunciation, because hold on, let's just confirm the pronunciations, man. The pronunciations for the following players whose names are almost always fucked up. Some by me. Okay, there's some I have been calling Ethan Almanza, Izan. So that's a mistake. I have been correct on Maxime Renault. Shout outs to living in Paris for 6 months. Adu Thiero as well. Sion James, I've called Sion James more than one time, and every time I'm like, I know I'm doing it wrong, but hey, there we go. Joan, I've been calling him Joan Beranger. Let's see how it's actually pronounced. It's Joan Beranger. Cool. Joan Beranger. So try saying that so you don't look like a weird gringo. Okay. So Yegor Demon, this one I got down very early. Noah Essengue. I've been saying Essengue, but sometimes I say Essengue. So it is Noah Essengue. Cool. Kasparis Yakuchonis. I don't think that's actually knees, but Nice. It's Nice. So it's Yakuchonis. There we go. So Kasparis Yakuchonis. You would think I'd be better with these pronunciations, but Lithuanian names have given me trouble for quite some times. Kon Knipple and Kaman Maluach. I've heard people botch the shit out of Kaman's name. So there we go. Now you are prepared to sound like a real draft knower with the proper pronunciation for everything. All right. Legend of Experiment saying Shams will post Jokic to the Raptors. People are really freaking out about a lot of stuff today. One of which was the Denver owner coming out and saying, the CBA is scary and we don't want to go over the second apron because, we don't want to entertain the possibility of having to trade number 15. Chill on that shit. They're not trading Jokic. Chill. Okay. So RJ Barrett has been shopped. Open secret, right? Everyone's talking about it. Raptors are shopping RJ Barrett. Why is very interesting. Why? Is RJ the bait or is RJ the prize? Something you have to ask yourself every time something leaks. Who does it benefit? Who does it hurt? Right? Now, if you're really shopping this guy, obviously it's hard to make it a secret. It was very open secret along the NBA that Pascal was being shopped for months. I want to say almost years before he was actually traded. Years. The Raptors held out. They kept waiting and waiting and waiting until their offer dwindled to 3 somewhat weak first round picks and Bruce Brown. Okay. So you don't want to do that again with RJ Barrett. However, RJ Barrett comes with a bit of a caveat, which I believe he has a player option next year. So he's a little bit of a double expiring in the wrong direction, which is to say he's not really an expiring for a team that trades for him today because he might actually just opt into his contract. If I'm not mistaken, it is a player option, is not a team option. If it was a team option, of course, double the value on your side. I believe that the Toronto Raptors tried and failed to trade RJ Barrett for Drew Holiday. I have no idea what the framework of that deal would have looked like. What else would have been involved? Obviously, the Celtics cannot aggregate salaries, cannot combine salaries, so it would have been a straight swap. And who knows what else the Raptors would have added. But I'm assuming it's because RJ Barrett probably made too much money. Lucky saying no option. Are you sure about that? Hang on. I'm just going to check this real quick. I could be wrong. Hang on one second. I want to double check here what I think. You know what it is? It's not an option. What it was shit. What was it? What was it on his deal? That he is extension eligible this summer. Correct. You are. He has no option. So RJ Barrett has no option. He is $27 million this year. I apologize to everyone. That was misinformation. My bad. 27.7 this year, and then 29.6 expiring next year. As a percentage of the cap, he's actually going down because his contract does not scale up as fast as the cap goes up. But RJ Barrett for 17.4% of the cap in his expiring year next year is not a great value contract. So that is something to think about in terms of evaluating his trade value right now. But it's also bad optics when we know that the Raptors were in on this player, that player, that player, that player. When you start striking out, it kind of has the same impact as that dude that's at the bar who goes up to 7 different girls and gets rejected. That dude is not getting laid tonight. I will guarantee it. It's a very proven social thing that consistently being publicly rejected is not a great thing for neither your self-esteem nor your social standing. And in terms of trade value, when everybody knows that you're dangling this one guy, okay, then his value goes down. his value goes down. Scotty Barnes' value is up precisely not because he's a great three-point shooter, but precisely because everybody knows the Raptors won't trade him. And sometimes, you want what you can't have. You want what you can't have. You know what you don't want? That guy that, I don't know if y'all watched our draft show. Those of you who did watch our draft show, you remember how Ciro was like shopping around Corey Kispert? And do you realize how almost everyone got annoyed by the end? And they were just like, I don't want to hear the fucking name Corey Kispert anymore because I don't want to trade for Corey Kispert. Well, that's exactly what's happening with the RJ Barrett thing. You're almost destroying his value this way. And I think it's the lesser of two evils, because here's what's on the docket for the Raptors. RJ Barrett has really good stats relative to where he was in New York. He's a much better player. This year, he took a more on-ball role. That 25 and 5, I call it Tyreke Evans hash line, right? The 25 and 5 on relatively inefficient jump shooting, primacy, having the ball in your hands, etc. A lot of guys in this league can put up 25 and 5 with the ball in their hands. Everybody knows this. Okay. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news for y'all, but Jordan Poole can put up 25 and 5. CJ McCollum can put up 25 and 5. Anthony Simons can put up 25 and 5. I swear to God, there are like 50 to 60, 80 guys in this league who can easily put up 25 and 5. It means nothing. I want to say it means nothing because obviously 24 and 4 is worse, but it doesn't mean what you think it means. Do you know why? There's a lot of reasons. Number one, if I'm a team that's trading for you, I may not have that type of role for you. So now what do you do for me? Number two, pace has gone up. 25 and 5 is a dated concept. Yes, when the score is 78 to 93, yes, it matters to me that you can score 20 points. When the score is 130 to 120, I really don't give a fuck that you scored 20 points on 20 shots. I don't care. Efficient scoring is where we're at. Movement shooting is where we're at. Spacing, off-ball threats, defense is where we're at. The people who swear that RJ Barrett has value don't understand basketball, or they understand basketball from the view of watching it at the park. Yes, at the park, you want RJ Barrett on your team. You want him on your team. First round, first pick him. He's going to cook up. You put the ball in his hands. He's going to get you efficient baskets. He's physical. No referees at the park. Hack away. But in the NBA, pace, space, scouting, it matters. And frankly, think about the other teams that would trade for him. New York, no, not going to happen. Brooklyn, maybe. I don't know. Let's say San Antonio wants to trade for him. Is he having the ball in his hands? No. So now it doesn't matter that you can get 5 assists on high volume attempts. It doesn't matter. What matters to me is, can you space the floor and set screens for Wemby? Well, if you can't, well, you're not a complete basketball player. The $27 million is an overpay. RJ Barrett is overpaid. Immanuel Quickley is overpaid. Right now, Immanuel Quickley is overpaid. And the worst part is, not only are these players technically overpaid, and I'm not trying to be a hater, I'm telling you the truth. You can choose to believe me now, or you can choose to believe me in 2 years when reality hits you square in the head. This is the truth. It's the truth. Okay? The fact that they're overpaid is not even the problem. The problem is, because you lost as much as you did in the context that you lost, their value is depressed beyond what they are. So they're underrated now. RJ Barrett is not being fairly rated. I don't believe he's being fairly rated. I think he was a decent playmaker this year. I think he tried on defense. I think Immanuel Quickley is better than people think. Try to bring up Immanuel Quickley and Jalen Suggs in the same context. People laugh you out of the room. Try to bring up Immanuel Quickley and I swear to God, there's probably someone out there who thinks Aaron Wiggins is a better player than Immanuel Quickley right now. And honestly, for the money, you can't even argue that. You can't even argue that. So the Raptors are going to have some process of rehabbing the value of these guys, so that maybe you get better offers next year or whatever. It's the same thing with Jakob Poeltl, man. You keep using this guy as a post hub. He's not a great passer. I'm not even trying to lie to you. He's not a great passer. He's a reasonably okay passer. What team in the league is trading for a 30-year-old center who does not shoot, who's an okay passer and an okay rim protector and a pretty dominant rebounder, in fairness, and a really good team guy and a really good culture setter? But for real, we're talking about some cross between Isaiah Hartenstein and Steven Adams. And honestly, man, It's not a huge market for those guys. It's just not. You know who there is a huge market for? Guys like Miles Turner. Even though, on a given night, I don't know if I prefer Miles Turner or Jakob Poeltl. What I do know is one of these players is an archetype that preserves value better. You're really looking for a needle in a haystack when you're talking about trade partners for some of your pieces. And I think the Raptors keep making this mistake where they overvalue their own guys, they smell their own shit, they swear it doesn't stink, and then they go out and around the league and they try to like peddle it on to the other people. Like, hey, you want to give us 5 first-round picks for Pascal Siakam? And it's just like, bro, no. But then, the Raptors have a point too. The Raptors have a point too. Because their pieces tend to get a lot more fairly valued once they leave. Will that help the Raptors? They just go around and tell everyone, hey, you may be undervaluing our players now, but look at what happened the last 4 fucking times. Everyone undervalued our players. Everyone said Fred VanVleet was this and that and that and that. And then boom, he goes to Houston and everyone swears he turned around their culture. And you undervalued OG and you called him overrated and you said he couldn't jump and you said he couldn't shoot and you said he couldn't dribble and whatever. And he's overpaid and he's, and now he's the missing piece to a championship puzzle. And then today, I saw someone really make an argument that Pascal Siakam's a top 15 player. Well, why wasn't he a top 15 player when we were trying to trade him? You know what I mean? So I get the frustration from the Raptors side too. So all of this, 41 minutes of passionate rambling to say, I'm not saying the Raptors are a bad organization at managing. I'm saying they've made a lot of mistakes, avoidable mistakes, especially when you consider, one, what the rumored offers were, which includes, by the way, Pascal Siakam for Andrew Nemhard and picks earlier in the offseason, which includes OG Anunoby for 3 first-round picks from New York, as opposed to this RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly clusterfuck of $60 million. Okay, cool. Assets have to be valuable. You know what I mean? If I told you could buy some shares with stock today for $30 a share, but for the next 2 years, you're only going to be able to exchange them for $12, I don't think you're buying those shares. So it's like, why depreciate? You know what I mean? It's like when you fuck up a lottery pick, it's like driving a car off the lot. It's immediately worthless or immediately worth half. So you don't want to do that. This is called smart asset management. You'd think Masai and Bobby would know better. Okay, now to this Noah Essengue and Carter Bryant thing. Okay. Reports are that the Raptors flew Noah Essengue out from in the middle of the playoffs yesterday, flew him to Toronto, had a private workout with him, took him out, and now he's in New York answering questions. Today, when Noah Essengue was asked, I want to share with you the interview that he had. Hang on one second. Pull it up. So when Noah Essengue was asked, where we at? Bro, what the fuck? I know I shared it. Hang on. So when Noah Essengue was asked about his draft comparisons or whatever, he had a really interesting answer. Take a listen.
Siakam, Scotty Barnes, Kawhi. I said a guy like, Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, Kawhi.
Yes. Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, and Kawhi. Like the most obvious fucking I'm going to be a Toronto Raptor answer in the history of the world. Kind of like there's no way in hell he is stupid enough to not know that answering this question was going to link him to the Raptors. And this happens to come out on the same day that a news report comes out from the Toronto Star that the Toronto Raptors did not work out Carter fucking Bryant. Okay. Let's talk about this because there's a few possible reasons and I want to point to all of them. And then we'll take your calls. 530 of you in here. If y'all want to call in. Number one, the Raptors are very, very coy. And there's a lot of moving pieces around them. They're not at 1, 2, 3, 4, where everything is behind them, and those 3 picks above them are barely ever going to move. Being at 9 and having a guy, be that guy, Derek Queen, Kaman Malawach, Noah Essengue, Carter Bryant, Cedric Coward, Nick Clifford, whoever your guy is, this is a fucking tricky spot to have a guy. Now, do I think the Raptors have a guy? Yes, I do. I do think they have a guy. I don't buy any of this bullshit of like they have 5 guys and they're picking between 5 guys 2 days before the draft, 3 days before the draft. I don't know when that hello and welcome thing was. No, I don't believe that. I fully believe that they think they have a guy. Now, here's the question. You don't work out Carter Bryant. You don't work out Carter Bryant. Why? Can I do the Brian Windhorse? Like, you know that. Now, why would they do that? I don't know. I don't have my second hand available, but for real, it's a fucking great question, right? Why not work him out? He's in your draft range. He's your type. He's your type of person. Obviously, I've been hyping the shit out of him since April. Why not work out Carter Bryant? I heard this news 2 days ago that they hadn't worked him out. I was somewhat surprised because they worked out a lot of players in their draft. There's a lot of reasons. I'll name a few. Number one, Carter Bryant has a promise in the top 8. That's one possible reason. I'm not saying that is the reason. I'm saying it's a possible reason. Let's say he has a promise from New Orleans or Brooklyn, and that's all. That's all there is. You're not going to work him out. He doesn't need to work out with you. Maybe he doesn't want to come. Boom. Reason number two, which would be surprising, is that he's not in your range. He's not on your board. You have him like 28th or something. That happens. That happens every year. There's a player that everyone else has top 15 and you have that guy 30. Just like there's sometimes guys that you have at 15 that everyone else has 40. That's what happened with Pascal Siakam. The Raptors had him top 20. The rest of the league probably had him 45, 50. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder when it comes to the NBA draft. So why do you not bring in Carter Bryant? Those are 2 possible reasons. Here's a third possible reason. He declined. He didn't want to come. I find that very hard to believe, by the way. Carter's a great kid. Toronto's a good situation for him. He's a real hoop knower. You know, his dad's a really cool person. They have no, at least from what I understand, no bad feelings about Toronto. No bad feelings about Canada. None of that bullshit exists. I promise you. He's a kid from California. Yeah, he is. There's a lot of stereotypes about, you know, especially in the midst of the Kendrick and, you know, Drake beef that, you know, maybe people from California feel like a not like us energy towards Toronto. Carter's not one of those guys. He has a lot of respect for basketball history and a lot of respect for the Raptors. In fact, he said as much when asked about not working out for Toronto. He talked about how much he admired Masai and the Raptors roster and how they had a whole bunch of people who were just like him. And he kind of left it there. Okay. So those are some reasons that you would not have worked out Carter Bryant. I can't think of another reason. Let me know if there is another reason. Maybe you call in and tell me that there's another reason. Actually, wait. There's one really important reason why you don't work out Carter Bryant. There's a team at 8 that is rumored to be in talent acquisition mode that has a general manager who has scouted Carter Bryant, has been high on Carter Bryant, from what I understand, knows of Carter Bryant, could use Carter Bryant. You have a coach in Jordi Fernandez and a general manager, executive in Sean Marks, who are known to draft this type of player. Brooklyn Nets Twitter has been going nuts over Carter. And I often blame myself because I really did start a huge hype brigade around Carter around 2.5 months ago, posting videos, highlights, all that stuff, scouting reports. I've been the Carter guy. There's no one on the internet who has made more of a case for why Carter should be a lottery pick. And I did it when he was mocked 25th, 22nd, 20th. And Brooklyn Nets Twitter has been on him. And you'd be crazy to think that executives don't see that their fan base is clamoring for the guy. It's not going to swing the decision. Sean Marks should be fired if he would make a pick based on what Twitter wants. But they see it. They see it. They all see it. These guys are all fucking, they may not have their official accounts, but they're lurking, man. They see everything. You have no idea the shit that I have heard from people about what people have seen and how much people will tune into a show just kind of lurking in the background, or, you know, be on one of those spaces and you scroll down and you're like, that's a burner. That's a fucking burner right there. So they do see it. So, you know, if you're the Raptors, you're stuck. You're stuck between 2 teams that are really probably very high on Carter Bryant. I'm going to say this. The Nets could be very high on him. Everyone's talking about Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, Kaman Malawach. For them, But what if they don't want any of those guys? What if their eyes are really on Carter Bryant? Add in the Nets have reportedly been wanting to trade number 8 to move up for Ace Bailey. So that pick that you were factoring in as the Nets are picking before us, it actually is it's a pick that is very available. It's not like number 1 or number 2 where ask don't tell. We're not trading it. 8 is available. And you don't know if 8 moves up to 3 and 3 moves up to 8, you know what I mean? Like if Philly and Brooklyn swap 3 for 8 because the Nets really want Ace Bailey, and who knows, maybe the Sixers want Carter Bryant. You don't want everyone to know that you're high on this guy because you don't actually control the fucking board, and everything around you is in flux. You thought the pick behind you was Houston, and you're thinking, well, Carter Bryant's a pretty Houston-y guy, but they already got Bari, and they got Amen, and they got Eason. They don't really need him, right? Maybe they'll go with a center. They need a center. They need somebody else. But good teams don't draft for fit. They don't draft for need. They draft for talent. What if there's like 3 teams around you that are really high on Carter? You really don't want to tip your hand. You can't control it. Fine, fuck. But you can do what you can to control it. So you don't want to tip your hand is what I'm saying. Because 8 could be on the move, and you don't want to think, if everybody knows Carter's going 9. Because I'm going to tell you this. Prior to April, Carter to Toronto was the wildest shit you could ever say on the internet. First of all, this is even before the lottery. This is before the Raptors fell from 7 to 9. Carter to Toronto had never been said anywhere. But when the Raptors fell to 9, suddenly people started to settle on it a little bit. I talked about it a lot. People were like, yeah, I could see Carter being one of the guys they're looking at. And then suddenly, a week ago, I'm looking at the mock drafts. Number 7, number 8, boom, number 9, Carter Bryant. Number 9, Carter Bryant. Number 9, Carter Bryant. I'm like, where the fuck did this come from? And if you're the Raptors, this is a nightmare situation for you, because if a team behind you is in love with this guy, they can trade for number 8 because that 8 is available. The Nets are open for business. So the Raptors have no actual benefit from projecting who they want to draft. Which brings me to the Noah Essengue part of this. Uh-oh. Did someone just have loose lips, or is someone playing a fucking game of poker here? When's the last time? Did you hear anything about the Raptors and Jacoby Walter last year? No. You know why you didn't hear that? Because Jacoby's camp was certain that he was going top 14. They were certain. They thought he was going top 14. I think there was a lot of interest from the Thunder at 12, who had no idea if Nikola Topic was going to be there. I think there was some interest from, who was it, Washington at 14, but then they didn't know Bob Carrington was going to be there. And then he free fell. And he's just falling. And people are trying to rush to get the info. Like, why is he falling? Does he have an injury? And then boom, Toronto just blindly took him. But the reason they didn't work him out is not because they didn't want to. It's because he didn't want to. He didn't want to come. He didn't think he was going to be there. But Carter's range is not top 3, top 4, top 5 unless he has a promise. Why would Carter not want to come? This is not a Jacoby situation. Stop quoting that. Don't tell me that. That's a stupid thing. I'm sick and tired of listening to stupid bullshit today on Raptors Twitter. First, I got to see Aaron Rose saying, yeah, but they didn't work out Jacoby last year. Totally different situation, first of all. True, but false. You know what I mean? Because now everyone parrots that same stupid point, and I'm not even sure if he's parroting the point or if that's an original point for him, but that's just the wrong point. That's the wrong point to bring up. It's not a similar situation at all, number one. Number two, and this is very crucial, is you're not in the same place in the draft. You're top 10. And you got pieces around you that can move around a lot. And I think that there was another thing that really kind of caught my eye today. It was Raptors Digest. No shade to the Raptors Digest. I've been on the show. Cool. Shout outs to Ben Rogers and shit. This proposed trade of Nikola Topic, number 15 and number 24 for Raptors number 9. Yo, bro. Sam Presti is a fucking genius. Nikola Topic for number 9 is not happening. Topic for 15, 24 might happen. Sorry, 9 for 15 and 24 could happen. Topic 15 and 24 for number 9? What the fuck do you think you have? I don't think that package I don't think they would trade that package for the 3rd pick. I'm not sure that they would trade Topic straight up for the 6th pick. They were really high on that guy. They love him. He was top 5 on their board last year from someone I talked to in OKC. They loved him. They were excited that he fell to them at 12. And now he's healthy, and they're apparently going to just hand him to the Raptors. To move up 6 spots? Are you fucking crazy? That's nuts. That's nuts. That's rage bait. I gotta get better about just identifying rage bait and not reposting it. That's stupid, man. Come on. Like, you're gonna add like 2 first-round picks to that. And even then, I think they say no. That's just crazy. That's like me saying, like, you know what would be great? RJ Barrett for Bilal Coulibaly. Let's do that. Or RJ Barrett for Trey Murphy. Let's do that. But swear some Raptor fans think that's realistic. They swear. They've seen the vision. That's realistic value for them. Can't keep hyping up our own guys, man. I know I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty of it too. I am. Sentimentally, I would not trade Ulrich for like the 28th pick. But you know what? I don't think there's a GM in this league that would trade the 28th pick for Ulrich. So we're just at an impasse. We're just going to be where we are as a Raptor fan base. We're going to love our guys. We're going to love our players. And we're just going to pray for the best in Summer League. Now, this Noah Essengue part really kind of caught me off guard here. We let it leak that he flew to Toronto for a private workout. True? Not true? Why lie? It's confirmed. It's a report. It happened. It's on the internet. It has to be true. This is something that I've learned, right? Look at that. Shout outs to FA. Essengue pre-draft officially started on Sunday when he departed Ulm following Game 3 of the German League playoffs, landing in Toronto for a secret private workout. Before flying to New York City for the green room participants, he also landing in Toronto, for a secret private workout. He is also expected to meet with the Nets while in New York City and has picked up significant interest from the Suns, who could very well select him should he fall to 10. Cool. Makes a lot of sense. Noah Essengue is a very Raptors-y prospect. I have often compared him to Pascal Siakam. The Raptors liked Pascal Siakam, obviously enough that they thought they could build a championship core around him 3-4 years ago. So I get it. But having him, one, report that this is reported, this is out there, this is public, that he flew to Toronto. Number two, if it's secret, why is it on the internet? If it's true, why is it out there? And then number three, and this is probably most crucial, why is he talking about Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, and Kawhi Leonard? Is he dropping Easter eggs for Raptor fans so that Raptor fans, when he walks on stage, will already have a positive association with Noah Essengue liking their franchise pillars over the history? Because literally, Kawhi was the best player on the Raptors in 2019. Siakam was the best player on the Raptors in 2021. Scotty's the best player on the Raptors since 2023. He just named your 3 franchise players over the last 6 years. That is a fucking Easter egg. Why drop it? Now, I say this to say this. If the Raptors really want Noah Essengue and he just said that, I'm pissed. I'm not even overreacting. I'm just pissed because it does not take someone with a fully functional brain. I think a 5-year-old could have put those pieces together. And now I'm asking myself, what benefit? Who did that benefit? If you're working out with the Nets, why drop all the Raptor hints and all this reporting about, oh, he flew to Toronto for a secret private workout? Ooh, the Raptors are really interested in Noah Essengue. You know what? He's a Raptors-y prospect. He fits. He's a position of need. He plays two-way. And you know what? Yesterday, I made a mistake. When I was breaking down Dan Tolzman's entire interview, where I said, yeah, he's describing this guy, he's describing Colin Murray Boyles and Carter Bryant, Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen. You know one name that I stupidly left out, who fit everything the Raptors have been talking about? Noah Essengue. Super physical, hustle, fluid athlete, crazy upside, crazy potential, crazy standing reach. I really do liken him to Pascal Siakam. He's like Siakam meets Kirilenko meets Pops Mensa Bonsu meets like so many fucking weird players. Sean Marion, like he's so many weird players rolled up into one. He's years away though. I just want to let y'all know that. He's years away. I think he's years away from actually contributing on the NBA floor. He is MAGA skinny, bro. Like, he is so fucking skinny. You blow him over like a toothpick. You watch the playoffs. You see what happened to Chet Holmgren? He's skinnier than him. So yeah, you could play him as a wing, but he can't really shoot that well. His shot release is nothing close to Carter Bryant, Cedric Howard, or any of those guys. So yeah, but also I want to make something very abundantly clear. He's 18 years old and he was a professional basketball player. That's huge. That's huge for me. And I'm going to give you guys a really fun fact that you could take away from this video and say, listen, I listened to this guy ramble on for an hour, very angrily calling out this, and, crying tears of sadness over the Raptors not picking his favorite prospect. But let me tell you something. This draft is historical. Historical. Why is it historical? You might ask why it's historical. I'm going to actually tell you why it's historical in a second. This draft is historical because actually this is a quiz for the chat. Name me the last time. If you don't follow us on X, you can't cheat. Don't go scroll and cheat. Name me the last year that 5 18-year-olds were picked in the lottery. And this is, again, assuming that Ace Bailey, lock lottery, Kaman Malawach, lock lottery, Cooper Flagg, lock lottery, Jeremiah Fears, and Noah Essengue, probably lottery locks. Did those 5 players go top 14? 2001, 2003, 2003, Kobe draft night, y'all wrong as fuck. You're all wrong. Here, let me prove it to you. This is crazy. And this is a fact that I don't remember hearing from a lot of people. So let me bring this down for you, because I sat there for like an hour and a half and really thought about this and researched it. And I hope that I did not make a mistake somewhere by missing a prospect, but I'm pretty sure this is right. Okay. When is the last time 5 18-year-olds were selected in the lottery? We have to go back to 2005, the last year that high school players were actually allowed in the draft. Martell Webster, Andrew Bynum, who was 17, by the way, Yaroslav Korolev, who remembers that guy, and Marvin Williams, who actually played collegiate basketball coming off the bench, were all 18. But that's 4, not 5. In 2004, you had Dwight Howard go number 1, Sean Livingston go top 5, Robert Swift, but that's just 3. Sebastian Telfair, yes, he was a high school player, but he was a little bit delayed, and he was 19, despite coming out of high school. And players like Al Jefferson, who I wrote all Jefferson for some reason here. My bad, Al. Good player. Josh Smith and J.R. Smith were all selected outside the lottery. So in 2003, LeBron James headlined one of the youngest drafts ever at just 18. Darko Milicic, picked right behind him, was actually 17 on draft night, turned 18 before the season started. But the rest of the class after LaMelo, I just called him LaMelo, my bad. Melo and Bosch, who were both 19, was much older. Ford, Sweetney were both 20. Wade, Petrus, Banks, and Kamen were 21. Hayes, Collison, and Kirk Heinrich were all 22. Shout outs to Nick Collison, Mr. Thunder himself. In 2002, 21-year-old Yao Ming was taken first overall. Jay Williams was 20. High schoolers DeJuan Wagner and Amari Stoudemire were 19. Nene was 19. Skeetishvili was 19. I don't think there was a single 18-year-old picked in 2002. 2001, that's the draft of the high schoolers, right? Finally, we get some young bloods. Whoops, never mind. Kwame Brown was already 19. Eddie Curry and Tyson Chandler were, in fact, 18, but Pau Gasol was 20. Sagana Diop was 19. Eddie Griffin out of Seton Hall was 19. Vladimir Radmanovich was already 20. In 2000, Darius Miles became a rarity as an 18-year-old picked top 5 in the NBA draft, but he was the only one, the only high schooler picked that year. The rookie of the year, Mike Miller, was 20. Future sixth man of the year, Jamal Crawford, was also 20. Jerome Moiso, shout outs to former Raptor Jerome Moiso, the super raw UCLA product, was 22. And this is the same draft where 22-year-old Kenyon Martin went number 1, and future UNC candidate, who literally looked like he was 50 years old on draft night, 22-year-old Marcus Fizer, he went 4th. So unless I'm missing something, is this the first time in NBA history that 5 18-year-olds will actually go top 14? Let's see how that happens. Consider how rare 18-year-olds actually are in the NBA. In 1995, Kevin Garnett was the 3rd ever high school player, shout out to Moses Malone, selected in the NBA draft. It became more frequent in the next 2 years. Kobe, Jermaine O'Neal, and Tracy McGrady back to back to back. Holy shit, 95 to 97. But then after that, it just goes crazy. So the NBA adjusted their rules. And yet, as the saying goes, rules are meant to be broken. So this many kids reclassified and were actually good enough to do it. That's special. The 18-year-olds doing anything, much less dominating a college game or a professional league in Germany, even if it's the 5th highest competition, that's very rare. Do you know why it's exceedingly rare? I'll tell you why. because collegiate basketball is getting older. Guys are staying longer for NIL. There's 26-year-olds and 25-year-olds in collegiate basketball, and it's not actually that uncommon. So when you got 18-year-olds going up against 25-year-olds, you may not actually think that's a big deal. That is a huge deal. That's a huge deal, man. There's a huge deal. These age gaps matter so much prior to the age of 22. Huge, huge. Because you're talking about the physical development, mental development between the ages of 18 and 22 is enormous. So picking an 18-year-old, that's interesting. That's interesting. I'm not saying just because the guy's 18 means he's going to be good. Darko Milicic was 17. He was not great. You have to pick the right 18-year-old. But it is worth noting the Raptors are a great development staff. Carter Bryant is significantly older than these 18-year-olds. He is going to be 20 in November. So you have to factor that in. He's a year and a half older than some of these guys. He's like a year. No, he's not a year and a half older. Carter is like a year and 1 month older than Cooper Flagg. He's a year and 1 month older than Noah Essengue. A year and a month in NBA prospect development terms is enormous. So if the Raptors really, really buy the hype on Noah Essengue and they really believe that this guy can be a one, like the one, like I'm not saying Giannis, please don't compare him to Giannis. He's not Giannis, but yo, wide strides, high hips, okay handle, developing jump shot, free throw shooting came a long way this year. The tape shows okay connective passing, if not great connective passing. Good aptitude, has an older brother. That's usually a good omen, actually, for prospects, you know, because you have to fight for your keep at the table. Seems to like have been pushed into basketball, but really fell in love with basketball, left home early. So this entire thing of being away from your family is not going to be, you know, the worst thing ever. Also, French basketball is on a massive like growth trajectory with Wemby, Bilal, Zach Risache. Which one of these prospects have really sucked? And you know what's funny? I like Noah Essengue a lot. I like him a lot. If the Raptors pick Noah Essengue tomorrow, I'm not going to be crying. I'll be fine. I'll get over it. I'll root for Carter wherever the fuck he goes. I really hope for Carter's sake he ends up in a good place because he's a really good dude and he has shown nothing but love through this entire process. And I wish him nothing but the best. There's a lot of people in the draft community who are super fucking high on Carter Bryant. Shout outs to No Ceilings that have been showing Carter love all season, right? Now, if Noah Essengue is, in fact, the Raptors pick, the ultimate bluff of bluffs where, you know, they kind of psych everyone out with this whole, okay, wait, that's not really our guy, but it is our guy, but it's not really our guy. And look, he's going to bring up a whole bunch of Raptor prospects. The Raptors couldn't possibly be projecting that much. I mean, this shit is a game of poker, right? This would be like me playing a game of poker and me telling you I have 4 aces. You know what I mean? Like you would probably be saying like, why the fuck would he tell me he has 4 aces? But maybe I actually do have 4 aces and I'm just trying to bluff you out into thinking I have a shit hand. So you just go all in. You know what I mean? I don't actually win poker ever because I don't lie well. So maybe I shouldn't talk about poker and I probably shouldn't talk about hockey and I probably shouldn't talk about baseball because it's just not shit that I understand. I'll stick to basketball. And I'll tell you one thing about basketball is that Kevin O'Connor made a really fucking big mistake today talking shit about Noah Essengue, apparently future Raptor Noah Essengue. So Noah left, boom, and, you know, this is directly from his agent, by the way. I just want to be clear about that. He had the blessing of Ulm to do this. He's not playing, guys. In the playoffs, Ulm is, I think, 2-1. He's not playing a lot of minutes. Ben Seraph is, but he's not. And Ben Seraph doesn't have a green room invite. He does. Ben might actually be the pick at 39 for the Raptors. Who knows? We'll see. Hopefully. That'd be cool. I doubt it. He measured too well. But Kevin O'Connor made this sort of blatantly idiotic thing. And I don't mean to come at Kevin O'Connor. He's a really nice guy. He shows a lot of love to smaller content creators. He's been really, really nice enough to bring a lot of people on his show. I'm not really trying to come at the guy, but yo, you don't even understand the situation. And you're going to blast the kid and say that he basically abandoned his team. He did not abandon his team. Just something to clarify here. Just for anyone who knows anything about European basketball. And I was so glad that Essengue tweeted in support of Noah in this situation. Actually, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you all this. Hold on one sec. Hopefully he hasn't tweeted too much. Just so I don't want to twist his words. So let me just make sure that I get his tweet down right. Hold on. And hopefully he hasn't blocked me at this point. Hang on. Kevin O'Connor. Oh, here you go. Good. Not blocked. Okay. So where we at? Did he delete it? Here we go. So Kevin O'Connor says, leaving your teammates and coaches and fans in the middle of the finals to walk across the stage and shake Adam Silver's hand is not something I'd prefer my first round pick to do. Now, again, this is a very kind way of kind of taking a shot at a player, right? Leaving your teammates and coaches and fans, what strong emotion does that evoke in you? What characterization of the player does that evoke in you? I think it tells me selfish, self-centered, narcissistic, not competitive, leaving the playoffs to shake a guy's hand. That's not what happened though. Number one, guaranteed, and this comes right from the source, he did have Ohm's blessing to do this. One. Two, just so we are clear, this is not like he's not playing much. That's a huge part of this. He is not like their star player. Just so we're clear, he's barely playing at all. He's not playing well, and he's barely playing. You can consider that a red flag all you want, but that's besides the point. So he's not playing. Number three, this is a huge moment for Ohm. He's the last player that drafted in the lottery. Oops, it's Killian Hayes. Don't pay too much attention to that. But yes, it's like a transfer for them. They're going to get money out of this. They get exposure out of this. Their fucking organization flashes in front of millions of people watching the draft. Their guy is going to be there. Also, from a human side of it, which is really hard to do with basketball analysis, I know. But try to understand this kid is 18 years old and he's worked his whole life to have this moment. Can we be positive and say it's probably a good thing that he cares about his NBA career this much? Honestly, the final point that is very important, would you risk getting injured with $8 to $10 million on the table, especially if he has a promise? What if he had to work out for Toronto to consider drafting him? What if he had to work out for Brooklyn and Phoenix? Right? Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something. What if all of this is just a giant misunderstanding? What if him bringing up Scotty Barnes, Kawhi Leonard, and Pascal Siakam is because he was literally in Toronto yesterday and those were the players on his mind? Because he walked through the Scotiabank Arena and saw a picture of Kawhi, a picture of Pascal, and a picture of Scotty Barnes. And he watches enough basketball to know who the fuck those players are. What if it's all just nothing? People run with everything now. He's also meeting with Phoenix. I don't hear a lot of people saying shit about that. The Toronto Raptors are about to make a mistake. I do feel it in my gut. I do. I'm feeling it. But I pray they don't. I really do. But whether they do or whether they don't, we're going to have you covered. We're going to have you covered. And I'm going to be honest, and I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to be a hype boy for the Raptors. I'm going to be honest and critical. I think I owe it to the subscribers to be fair, not be a hater, but also just honestly evaluate this team relative to the competition, because this is a competition. I don't care what you say. The team has to win, the team has to lose. So when you're going out and you're trying to fight for trading for Drew Holiday and you strike out because the other team prefers Anthony Simons over your package of RJ Barrett and a second round pick, you lost. You have to be evaluated for the decisions you can't make, don't make, lose out on. The opportunities are shrinking. The Raptors allegedly wanted Giannis, allegedly. Oh, who knows? Who knows, man? These reports come out. They allegedly wanted Kevin Durant. I can actually confirm that they did make an offer for Kevin Durant. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I have a source that will 100% confirm that. Yes, they did make an offer for Kevin Durant. They did want Kevin Durant. There's some rumors that they wanted Drew Holiday. I cannot confirm that or deny that, but there's some rumors that they were in on Drew Holiday, which makes you wonder, like, this team just wants everybody? Next thing you know, Trey Murphy, there's rumors about Malik Monk. Here's kind of my thought process going into tomorrow night and what I would consider a mistake. Here's what I wouldn't consider a mistake. And this is a very frequent trade that is put out there, and actually one that is similar to one that I brought up last offseason, which was for Cameron Johnson. I will support the Raptors trading the 9th pick if their guy isn't there for Cameron Johnson and moving back 10 spots. I would support it. I'd be perfectly fine with it. If it takes RJ Barrett, fine. To those people who say, no, RJ Barrett's a better player than Cameron Johnson, I would argue you don't know what you're talking about. You probably don't understand basketball very well, and that's okay. There's downside to this, of course. Cameron Johnson is a huge injury risk. So is Brandon Ingram. That's your fucking front court. That's also potentially $60 million, $65 million in cap space. Scotty Barnes hasn't been the beacon of health. Neither has Emmanuel Quickly. You want to be an IR team. I understand where the Raptors are going here. Boston looks like they're tanking next year. They're not a contender. Milwaukee, same thing. See Boston. Who are you competing with? Yes, there's a very easy thing. There's like a very easy path to the playoffs. And yet, once again, next year's draft is loaded. Is it worth it? Is what you're trying to do worth it? Whatever the Raptors do, I want them to be proactive. And I've also mentioned this in the last show. I just want them to pick a direction. I don't want them to be wassa wassa. I don't want them to be in the middle. Okay. I don't want them to be sitting on a fence, holding out for some deal that never comes because 18 general managers out there are doing a better job than they are of scouting the field. I really don't. So if you trade for Cam Johnson, cool. I get it. Cook up with the 19th pick. Maybe the Brooklyn Nets really like Noah Essengue, and they tell the Raptors, pick him at 9. The Raptors agree that the Raptors like him too. We both like him. We pick him at 9. And then maybe, if somebody that we like falls to 19, let's say Rasheer Fleming, Thomas Sorber, Kasparis Yakuchonis, someone like that, Yegor Demon, someone that we're comfortable with. Now we trade you the rights to Noah Essengue plus RJ Barrett for Cameron Johnson at 19. Now we'll do it. But if that guy's not there, we won't trade Noah Essengue. This actually would be a really good time to mention that Masai Ujiri and Sean Marks have a great relationship. So if someone is going to actually pull a deal off with Brooklyn, I would not mind. I would not put my money against Toronto. Toronto is fully capable of doing that. Brooklyn has allegedly been shopping Cam Johnson forever. They have every incentive and every reason to be bad next year. Cameron Johnson does not help you be bad. And sitting him out for a year does nothing good for you either. So taking, 2 top 10 picks, and who knows, maybe Noah Essengue plus whatever they get at 8 is packaged together to move up to Ace Bailey. Who knows, man? We don't know. We won't know. But what I do know is whoever the Raptors draft tomorrow night, my prayer and hope, and God help me, my prayer 100% is that it is Carter Bryant. If it is not Carter Bryant, I hope it's somebody that we all believe in, that we can all, watch grow, that's someone who's willing to work. I don't mean to give you the hopes and dreams speech, but obviously the Raptors have a type, hard worker, defender, whatever. They pick a player who doesn't fit that mold. I'm probably just going to flip. So let's hope we don't have that situation happen, because that's going to put a real damper on the rest of the night, because we got fucking 21 picks to go. The other thing that I'm not going to rule out is if they pick Carter or Noah or whoever, come on, don't rule out that pick getting traded, because they've been in talks with so many other teams. Let's see. My expectations for tomorrow, I really, really hope the Raptors don't make a big mistake, because I don't think with the roster as is constructed, I don't think they're going to be picking this high again for a really long time. We will take callers now. If there are any callers, I apologize to anybody who called earlier and just gave up waiting. If you want to call in, link is in the description below. I do want to give a really quick shout out to the 580 of you in here right now. Thank you so much for staying up with us until 12:18. Hopefully this live was entertaining. I'm going to be on the panel tomorrow at 11. We're going to drop our big board, final big board of the year, tomorrow at 3 o'clock via a live. And Erson and I are going to have you covered for the draft tomorrow from 6 o'clock. That is going to be a call-in show. Hopefully we'll have some of our favorites. We will have some of our favorite people. Vince. We'll see. We'll see who else we can bring on tomorrow. But it'll be a rowdy group. Maybe FA will call in. If we pick Noah Essengue, FA is going to call. if if Carter Bryant is picked, maybe FA won't call. It doesn't seem to be very high on him. And fuck, what else was I gonna say? Yes, a big, 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 big thing. This is public, so I don't need to be coy about this. Scotty's trainer, Brian Macon, friend of the channel, has been on the channel multiple times. Really cool dude. Has shown a lot of love to us. Y'all have seen him. He's called in, spam super chats. I need y'all to do me the biggest favor. Whatever God you pray to right now, and I'm gonna tell you this. Like yesterday, I was scrolling my phone, and I wasn't even looking at what I was scrolling, but my girlfriend was looking at my phone, and she nearly burst into tears. And looking at her face, I looked down at my phone, and I saw that Brian had suffered multiple heart attacks. Now, Brian is one of the healthiest people I know. He takes care of his body, doesn't eat a lot of junk. He's super active. Now, he's clear. He's in the hospital. He's out of danger from what we understand. But I desperately need y'all to send some good thoughts and some good prayers out. It was a heart condition. It's been caught. Hopefully, it's a genetic thing. But speedy recovery to a very, very good person who has poured a lot of, love into the community, Boynton Beach. Really great hooper. Not, yeah, like he's a really solid person. And you don't want to see shit like this happen to solid people before the age of 40. That's really fucked. So keep him in your prayers tonight because he's meant a lot to your star player and he's meant a lot to your favorite podcaster. Okay. All right. Let's bring on two people at once, Moobs and Sino. What's up, man? What's good? Let's start with Sino. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I apologize for the background noise. I'm actually at work right now, but yeah, I'm doing good.
Okay, make it real quick then. Sorry, the background noise for 550 people is just not going to work for me. So
No
just
problem.
shoot your question.
So I don't really have a question. I just kind of have a statement, but
Sure. What's your statement?
yeah. So I'm a high believer of Bryant. I, for some reason, have a feeling that if they decide to go with somebody else other than Essengue, it's going to be Murray Boyles. But if they traded down, um, is it a higher chance that they're going to go for Sorber, Fleming, or Cedric Howard? I don't know. I'm praying that they go for Bryant, but I just hope that I just hope that they don't trade down unless of course it's the Cam Johnson deal.
Yeah. They could be high on all those guys. Okay, I'm gonna put you on mute because your background noise is really bad. Yeah, I mean, I definitely see Thomas Sorber as being a Raptorsy guy. He fits a lot of boxes, checks a lot of boxes for what they want and how they want to play. Rasheer also fits a lot of boxes. That's the cool thing about the Raptors and that middle of the first round and why they might actually be interested in 19 is if their board breaks at 8 and the top 8 go exactly how they think it's going to go, like let's just say they're not super high on Noah and they see Noah and Rasheer and Thomas Sorber and Cedric Howard as all kind of one group of players, then there really isn't a big harm to moving back to 19 if your guy's there. Because if you don't see a huge degree of separation between Colin Murray Boyles and Yakuchonis, there really isn't a need to take one guy at 9 and not take the additional asset back, which is Cam Johnson. And from what I'm understanding around the NBA right now, is players like Cam Johnson might be worth multiple first-round picks if you can rehab his value a little bit in a winning context. So you might be able to flip this, and that might be the type of creative thinking that the Raptors have been missing for a really long time. Okay, Moobs, what's up, man?
What's up? I just had a quick question. I'm not too familiar on Brian Carter. I know about Noah Essengue.
You mean
like
Carter Bryant?
Carter Bryant. Sorry, my bad. I apologize. But like, who would you like if there was someone you compare to in the NBA today? Who would that be?
Tamani Kamara, Trey Murphy, a little bit of OG and Anobi mixed in
he's
with.
a great defender, right?
He is a phenomenal defender, and he's a dog.
I feel like with this current Raptors team, I think that would be a great fit. I don't know how ready he is because obviously I haven't really watched him like that. Is he like, you think he's NBA ready right now, or would it take a couple years like it would for Noah Essengue?
I think he's NBA ready right now. I do.
Okay.
And I think he's going to be NBA ready very quickly. I think a lot of people are very, very put off by 6.5 points per game or whatever at Arizona, but he just did not end up in a good situation in Arizona. It is a situation of, I think, I don't want to say it's malicious and kind of throw the coach under the bus, but nobody was really happy with that situation. He was definitely one of the best players. He
Right.
should have played a lot more. And, he wasn't super happy about it when he showed up to campus. He wasn't, playing a lot. And then he bought in, he locked in, he worked really hard. And he showed me that he can overcome a bad situation. And honestly, that might be a situation you find yourself in the NBA. Because if he gets drafted by the Thunder, let's just say hypothetically, guess what? You're not playing right away. You're not playing over Casey.
Right,
You're
yeah.
not playing over Aaron Williams. You're not playing those guys. So how are you going to deal with that? That's what I need to know. Is like, how locked in are you when I tell you you're not playing? And some guys are very locked in. Some guys spiral. They develop addictions and they don't work out. So understanding that, I've already seen him face so much adversity throughout his life. Granted, he comes from a great family, 2 parents, great parents, great family, great people, great. He's like, yeah, I can't say enough nice things about Carter. But what I'll say is, the tibia injury and the growth plate injury in high school early, huge adversity to kind of come through that. The conversation that we had today with, Catherine about grit and toughness and overcoming odds and shit. I think he matches that very well. And then, of course, not playing as a freshman 5-star McDonald's All-American, on a team that's not exactly contending for a national championship as a favorite, like that's a tough thing. So, he puts a lot of faith in God. I put a lot of faith, in him being great.
Right. Yeah. And my last question would be, obviously, I heard the interview with Noah today, and it seems like he's going to be a Raptor. I mean, he couldn't make it more obvious. But do you think we have the 9th overall pick, right? If I'm not mistaken, the 9th. Who do you think it will end up being?
I actually don't know who it will end up being. And if I did know 100%, I don't think that it's actually even in the Raptors' best interest for me to be saying this is who they're going to pick. But I think they'll be high on a lot of players. I think their targets include Carter, Noah, Cedric, Neek, Colin. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Colin Murray-Boyles. But an outside target might actually include Yakuchonis. It's weird because it's actually strategically very, very good for the Raptors to be a little unpredictable in this situation. There's a group of people out there that swear they're gonna pick Kaman because of NBA Africa, right? You've heard them.
Right. Yeah.
There's a group of people out there who swear they're gonna pick Yakuchonis because of the connections with Darko Rajakovic and his style of play. There's a group of people out there who have picked up on this thing that Dan Tolzman put down yesterday about the center who plays the way we want to play and are swearing that the Raptors are going to go with Derek Queen, right? And no one's talking about Carter Bryant and Colin Murray-Boyles like they're obvious fits for the Raptors at 9, but they totally fit what the Raptors have historically prioritized with Pascal and OG. So I don't know, man. Like it's interesting. And another player that no one really has linked to the Raptors is Jeremiah Fears. Like, and I don't understand necessarily why. Like they could be super high on him. There's no benefit to tipping your hand, is what I'm saying. But if I had to guess, my guess would be Carter Bryant. If it's not Carter, my guess would be Noah. Beyond that, Colin, come on. Like those are the 4 guys.
It could be a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah, if it's Asa Newell or Danny Wolf, color me surprised. And holy fuck, I'm gonna crash. But yeah, that's kind of my perspective on it. Yeah. I don't know. Have you heard any bit of Carter? Have you heard any of his interviews?
I think I heard like a Twitter clip. I've seen the Twitter clip today. Seems like a great kid,
Yeah, let me show you something funny. Here.
Let's go 1 big, 1 wing, and 1 guard. 1 big, 1 wing, and 1 guard. In this draft class.
So this is Carter Bryant asking Thomas Sorber which wing, guard, and big he wants to play against.
Guard. I'll say Jeremiah Fierce. Big. I'll say Derek Queen. Wing. I'll say Carter Bryant.
That's what we call a matchup nightmare. Sir Harper, I have a question for you, sir. All right, so I'm thinking I'm going to have a series of questions for you, just 2. First question, how are you planning to fit the hat tomorrow when your name is called on all of that hair?
So
I asked if I could get the biggest size hat. I think I'm just gonna lay it on top of my head.
Second question. Give me who you're looking forward to playing against the most. One big, one wing, one guard.
Carter Bryant, Ace Bailey, I already played a whole freshman class, but besides me, a guard, probably Cade, a wing, Bron, center, Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert. What you know about Rudy Gobert? I appreciate you, my dog.
So a lot of things come through with this. Number one, he's come up with these guys. He's played with these guys. You see the sense of ease and comfort in talking to them. I feel like this is a thing that shows his relationship with those players as well. He's obviously come up through AAU ranks, played against these guys and all that stuff. He's also funny as fuck. And I've often assumed that, sense of humor is a sign of intelligence. I think he just fits our culture so well, man. If we pass on him, we better have a really good fucking reason. And honestly, I'm gonna tell you this. I looked over a lot of the times where we maybe passed up on a player that I really liked, but this time, if we pass on him and he ends up blowing up like in 2 years, I swear I'm never gonna shut up about it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had to. Earlier, I was watching, and you said we could have traded potentially 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby and Andrew Nimhard for Pascal Siakam.
Mm-hmm. Those were deals that were allegedly on the table. I wasn't there, so I'm going on the reporting.
Yeah. But so what do you think RJ Barrett's trade value is right now? Like, if you just had to do a potential trade
I'm really glad that you asked that, because Johnny G comes in with the "What's the madness to trade RJ? Quit it." I understand where y'all coming from. 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists.
That's where y'all, kid, like, I understand it. Yeah.
Hometown kid, really humble, works hard, great interview, great, dude, great story. Canada basketball, connected to Rowan Barrett. I get it, my guy. But that shit doesn't matter on a basketball court, and it doesn't matter in a trade negotiation. None of this shit matters. Nobody cares that he's from Canada other than you and other Canadian people. And frankly, they fucking barely care. I'm gonna be honest, they barely care. Okay, like, at the end of the day, this is an archetype of player. Unless he fixes one of a few things. Number one, if he can fix his efficiency a little bit, get closer to, I don't know, Pascal Siakam off-ball roll type of, efficiency, we can have a different conversation. If you can get to 40% three-point shooting on high volume, we can have a different conversation. If he can become an above-average defender, I'm saying above average, not below average, because he's not even below average right now. He's significantly.
I would say he's about average,
but he's not. That's the point.
Okay. Yeah, maybe average, below average. Yeah.
He's lost off the ball. He does not defend the paint well. He does not defend passing lanes well. He gets lost in transition all the fucking time. He's not multi-positional. He does not guard guards well. He does not guard bigs well. He doesn't have a huge wingspan. Does not guard the rim. What I say? He does not contest well to closeouts. He doesn't do anything really well on the ball, except for he gets into guys. He's like,
he tries.
Feisty.
I'll give him that.
He's feisty on the ball, and he looks like he's trying. I've watched him plenty of times in person. I've watched him for years, man. I used to watch a lot of Knicks games as well with him.
Yeah.
He can participate, but he's not going to contribute.
Okay.
He's not. I would say if I was ranking out perimeter defenders in the league, he probably wouldn't make my top 100. So that's kind of my point. He's not close. So teams don't value that. Teams are valuing guys. And again, we've seen it 3 times already. Guys that remind me of RJ Barrett, guys like Jalen Green, Anthony Simons. And again, those guys are both higher volume 3-point shooting guys, and they're both perceived to be younger than RJ. Anthony Simons is the same age as RJ, but Jalen Green's younger. We just saw those guys get contract dumped, basically. I think a lot of people will say that, oh, well, they got Kevin Durant for him, right? Not really. The real haul for Phoenix was that 10th overall pick.
Yeah,
Jalen Green's a fucking contract, and like if anyone thinks that I'm lying, go listen to a podcaster you trust more and listen to a really smart person explain to you what Jalen Green's value was around the league. There's a lot of people. Zach Lowe talked about it. The Hoop Collective, man, they talked about it. Like, I don't know if y'all trust those guys or if you trust Thinking Basketball. If you trust me, Jalen Green did not have positive value. The only people who had positive value on that guy were highlight merchants and people who were high on him from the G League Ignite. People understand. Yes, there's a fucking stretch where he averages 30 points per game, but he doesn't fucking guard a soul, and he's not consistent. You know how good you have to be to not play defense in the NBA right now? Like with the number of off-ball actions, with the way the cap is going, players like this are fucking mid-level exception guys, and you're paying them 27 to 30 million. And yeah, Jalen Green was never going to sign for a mid-level exception, and he had to bargain down to 30 million. But for real, he signed pretty much the same deal as Trey Murphy, and Trey Murphy is so much better in terms of scalability than Jalen Green. But if you watch Jalen Green on the right on the right night, Jalen Green's way better than Trey Murphy. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of the weird thing. Is like people have this obsession with on-ball utility guys. I look at guys like Jerry Stackhouse and I say that guy is a mid-level exception guy in today's NBA. 30 points on low efficiency is not moving anybody. High volume scoring is not special.
I feel like RJ Barrett, Jalen Green, these type of players are honestly dying out in today's NBA. Like, because you have your stars, obviously, who are gonna take most of the shots, whatever. But you need guys who can just defend and shoot the three. I mean, look at OKC. That's how they essentially.
Well, you need on-ball creation for sure.
But I'm saying
but you need like efficient on-ball creation.
Efficient, yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, because RJ Barrett, Jalen Green, no offense to him, but they're not really efficient at all. They'll get you 25, but it'll be on like a lot of shots. It'll be on like 40% field goals. So I feel like these guys are just dying out. And as much as I like RJ, Toronto, he's from Toronto, like for the organization to try to move on. And obviously I don't know what his value looks like. I don't think it's that high, but
I think it's neutral or below neutral value. I don't think you're going to get back. I think you're going to get back a contract that you don't like. And maybe if you're lucky, you get a pick with it. Yeah. So if you end up getting Cam Johnson is very movable. Every contender could use a Cam Johnson. Not every contender can use an RJ Barrett. Again, this is not an indictment on RJ. I feel like every time I talk about trading RJ, everyone gets all mad and say, but Rob, you're not respecting RJ. I'm not respecting RJ's archetype. Doesn't matter how good you are. If the wrong archetype, nobody cares. Anyways, man, thanks a lot for calling in, Moves. Appreciate you as always. Peace. Michael, what's up? What's up, my guy?
What's poppin', man? How you doing?
I'm good.
You can hear me all right? I'm in your usual setup right now, but you're good? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. But yeah, first and foremost, for Mr. Brian Macon, prayers up, and obviously for him and his family. I know it can be a very difficult and trying time. It's his time's not coming to an end, and these type of things that bring us to our absolute brink are the moments that we look back on when we're in good health, and which I anticipate he will be in good prayers. I hope so. That's the case. That these are defining moments and defining in the best way possible. So that's the first and foremost thing.
Absolutely.
Moving on.
And he's seeing all this, right? So I tagged him. I made sure that he saw the chat when we talked about it in the in the earlier stream, and everyone was saying that. So you know what, y'all, like, please understand what Michael is saying is true. And I think anyone who's been in a situation where their dog is sick or their family member is ill or whatever, good wishes are never wasted, ever. So prayers are never wasted. I don't care who your God is. You pray to Allah, you pray to Ram, Vishnu, Jesus, Muhammad, whoever you praying to, or you're Jewish. It's like whatever denomination, whatever church, whatever synagogue, whatever. We are all human, and Brian's meant a lot to this channel. So please, send out your prayers and speedy recovery to Brian. And shout outs to his kid, Mars, and shout out to his fiance, and shout outs to his family. And it was really tough. It was like a wake up call for me, bro, because it's like, because I've met Brian, and like, fuck, like this dude is like inspiring in terms of how active he is, how persistent he is, how ambitious he is, and you see like all the shit, and he's always working, and you're like, fuck, this is something I admire, this is something I look up to. And then you see this guy who's relatively close to your age have 3 heart attacks. You're like, fuck, this is like wake up call, bro. Like wake up. And I just say, like, be humble and realize you go to sleep tonight. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Make the most of today is a humbling reminder when something like this happens, for sure.
Yeah, man. I nothing changed me for the better more than when I was an inch away from severing my tibial artery from a drunk night, and I changed overnight when the doctor told me that. And I know how formative those moments can be, and it's a crossroads. And again, just all the best for him and his family and everyone that cares about him, including this whole community. So all the best for him.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I had a couple trades that I had cooked up here, but I was gonna maybe save them for tomorrow, maybe get the full panel's perspective on things. But I hear we're talking about RJ and everything. I think a really good spot for people to understand where you actually stand on RJ is if you were to trade him in this draft for one pick, just straight up, no frills attached, what does he go for in your mind? 20th overall, 15th, 25th, where does he go?
Assuming that the team that is taking him back is sending you what? Like in terms of salary filler, they're just eating his contract, nothing back.
Like it quite literally, like you'd be getting a guy who you could cut tomorrow. Like he would
So a
be worth nothing.
non-guaranteed $25 million contract, basically.
Yeah, like
So
basically
basically,
like
the Bruce
yeah,
Brown.
exactly. Like
Last time.
what would the pure raw the value you're getting back is purely the pick. The other everything else is literally net zero. What do you think he would go for pick wise?
26th, 25th overall pick.
That's his value in your. So I mean, that the reason I ask that is because it helps put into perspective where you stand in terms of his value if you were to get traded straight up for a pick. So from that perspective, I did want to ask you, like, what team? Like you talked about archetype, and I completely agree with you when it comes to RJ. For me, I'm all about like portability. I want somebody who can give me defense on a regular, consistent basis. All of these things are very paramount is character, and he's got that in droves. So we love that. But right after that, I'm looking for defense. I'm looking for portability. I'm looking for somebody who can't just be schemed for very easily off the court, especially in high leverage situations into the future. And when I look at him, I'm trying to think about what team would want what he brings to the table and thrive off of it, with him being an addition, not just raising your floor, but actually a guy who could maybe help increase your ceiling. Because I think he's a floor raiser, not a ceiling breaker.
Okay. So if we go through the teams in the league one by one, we can just check them off. Boston, not now, but before they traded Drew Holiday, I could have seen it. And actually, I thought they would actually do that. I thought Drew Holiday for RJ was the big move that the Raptors wanted to make. Drew would obviously stabilize your defense, provide veteran leadership. You know, maybe you trade him in a year from now from a contract perspective. He's technically a better player than RJ, suits more of a off-ball role next to Scotty, could be a good mentor for the young guys. I get it. So no, that didn't happen. So cross Boston off. I think Brooklyn, yes to Brooklyn, right? Like they
I agree.
are in a position where they need players to put up stats and lose. And if you need someone to put up stats and lose basketball games, RJ Barrett is your guy. New York Knicks, no. Philly, no. Chicago, yes, but you're taking Patrick, but you're taking Patrick Williams back, and you might get a late pick in exchange. So
you think
yes,
we could get something like Zach Collins?
Maybe, but I think you're eating. I think you're eating a salary and you're getting a pick for it. You know what I mean? Or you're eating a salary and you're getting a young player, or you're getting two players back and one of them is good and the other one's Patrick Williams. Either case is going to be a salary dump. Cleveland, no. Detroit, yes. Actually, Detroit is a team that I think could use RJ Barrett and could actually use him very well. Indiana, apparently Indiana is looking to move off of Ben Mathurin, potentially Jarris Walker, but they're not going to give those players up for RJ Barrett. Milwaukee, yes, actually. Milwaukee, I could see Milwaukee being a decent fit, but I think you need more shooting, and I think you're not going to get anything of value back. You get Kyle Kuzma and stuff back. I don't think you want Kyle Kuzma.
No,
so you're taking trash for someone that's actually a decent contributor on your team. Like RJ Barrett's not a bad player. I want to be clear about that. Kyle Kuzma sucks. I would be really mad at that trade. Atlanta Hawks, I feel like no, probably not. But you're not getting anything of value back. You're not getting Jalen Johnson. You're not getting Zachary Sachet. You might get Kobe Buffkin, and then in exchange, you're giving them a pick or something, and then you're eating some salary like Clint Capella or something. I don't even know if Clint Capella's on the books anymore. Charlotte, yes, I could see it. Miami, yes, I could see it. I actually think RJ fits really well in Miami. Really well. And I think the deal would probably be Andrew Wiggins. Orlando, fuck no. Not happening in a million years. Washington, no. actually. They're
No.
prioritizing a very different type of player. Denver, yes, actually. He has some overlap, but I feel like they just don't have the pieces to make it work. So no. Minnesota, no. OKC, hell no. Portland, no. Utah, yes. Utah could be a team that could fit him in. You'll notice a certain trend emerging among teams that could use him. Okay. They're all bad teams. Okay?
Yeah.
Good teams do not want this guy. Golden State, that might be the first good team, but it would be a sign and trade for Jonathan Kuminga, and I just think they can do better. They can do better than that.
Yeah.
Clippers, maybe, but you're adding value to get something back. Like if it's a Norman Powell trade, you're probably the ones. I don't think it's a neutral flip. I think you're adding like a second round pick or something to that. And I don't know why they do that. Lakers, I don't see it because they have 3 perimeter spots already allocated. They need a center. No. Phoenix, yes, actually. Phoenix, I could see. But it's like they just have 180 million on perimeter players right now.
Yeah.
So you're going to take back Grayson Allen and their second apron team, so they can't even make that trade. They're a hard team to negotiate with, so no. Sacramento, yes, but you're going to add stuff, and you're getting Keegan Murray back. Like if you were to do a deal around RJ Barrett for Keegan Murray, you are massively compensating them in terms of pick equity in that
You probably
exchange.
have to give up next year's first round picks in a much stronger draft type
You
of
might
thing.
have to give up. You might have to give up number 9. Dallas, no, unless you're trading for Clay's contract, which I don't think they would do. Nico Harrison is on crack, so I have no idea. Houston Rockets, no. Memphis, yes. Actually, Memphis could do it because Memphis is tearing it down. So who knows what Memphis is willing to give you. The Pelicans, yes, because they're a batshit fucking crazy organization, and I have no idea. And San Antonio, no. So San Antonio does not need them. So those are
there's like 8 teams, 9 teams type of thing.
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at those teams you're talking about, well, the first thing I look for is who's getting paid like 18, 19 to 27 to match what he's getting paid in terms of like who they are, and they have to be getting overpaid as well in order to at least try to approximate some form
Jeremy
of
Grant was the contract that I was looking at, and you get compensated a pick in that exchange. So you eat Jeremy Grant's contract. You trust in your development staff that Jeremy Grant is not completely washed because he's more of an off-ball wing. And actually, ironically, Jeremy Grant has a lot in common with Noah Essengue. So maybe that's something that if you draft Noah Essengue, you get him a player like Jeremy Grant to sort of model off of a little bit. And yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but Jeremy Grant can play the 4 a little bit more competently than RJ can. I think the problem with RJ, and this is a big one, apart from the defense, apart from the off-ball stuff, as much as I'm very impressed with the playmaking reps that he got, I just don't think he's going to get those playmaking reps this year with Scotty, BI, plus Quickly, all of whom suck up a lot of possessions, especially when you hear the Raptors say we want to run our offense through Jakob in the post a lot. Like, yo, bro, there's only one ball. You have 5 players who need the basketball. Like, there's a problem here, right? And you're, believe it or not, trying to get on-ball reps for all your young players too. Like Jamal Shed, he brings up the ball a lot. You know, like if you draft Carter Bryant, you're going to want to get him on ball reps. If you draft Noah Essengue, you're going to want to get him on ball reps. Even if, Lord help you, if you draft Derek Queen, Lord, he's probably going to suck up 26% usage. So again, like there's only one ball. You need diversity. Bruce Brown is the archetype, like a better version of Bruce Brown. So I look at, you know, Jeremy Grant, and everyone says he's a negative asset, blah, 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 blah. I look at guys like Matisse Thybulle, and I'm like, okay, those are technically bad contracts. So maybe you need to eat some bad contracts to get some draft assets back for RJ Barrett. And I know fans will be very pissed. I get it. 21 points. How can you trade 21 points? But if it's not an efficient 21 points, it doesn't count. But yeah, Utah, Portland, yeah, those are the teams. Brooklyn.
One contract and one guy that I think is, so Zach Collins is getting $18 million. I mentioned him already. He's getting 18 mil. It's like expiring contract.
A year?
18 mil.
Zach Collins makes $18 million a year.
This is what I was. Yeah, when I looked on Fanspo, I was like, nah, that's crazy. So so 18 mil for a stretch big whose shoulder keeps popping out. Okay. So unfortunately, he's obviously got the 3-ball ability, and like it's poverty stricken version of Miles Turner. Like this guy can shoot a 3, every now and then. He unfortunately gets hurt, and he can block
Right.
some shots. It would
Okay.
open the floor a little bit up, and I like 18 mil. That was one of the things I was looking at, and they can eat a bit of money. So I had like 5 trades. I'll just show one of them. So what I was thinking was, obviously they have the 12th pick. Now RJ Barrett's value is not significantly high in any way, shape, or form. As That's why I was asking your evaluation on where you think he's at in terms of like giving up versus, because you're giving up a 25-year-old who put up those stats. It's not efficient, albeit this is a younger team with the Bulls. Do they want to go ahead and take that 12th pick, or would they want an RJ Barrett in your estimation in exchange for a Zach Collins that they got as part of a 3-team deal as a throwaway in that Zach LaVine kind of situation, and throw in like a Julian Phillips, who really is, again, not a needle mover per se?
So, what is your suggested trade? Number
It
12
would,
plus
it,
Zach Collins for RJ Barrett?
and then we'd have to give up like a draft compensation, probably and most likely, especially given your estimation of his value. So we have to, like, what I had was that Lakers second, and then there was also the opportunity to try to
Totally
sweeten the pot with the
worthless.
39 as well. But like, yeah,
Okay,
so that's what
so
I'm saying, is like there's not really too much value there. If you're saying he's like a more of a 25 in your eyes, then that trade framework wouldn't necessarily work out. Like,
no.
you wouldn't be able to get that 12. You just wouldn't be able to get your hands on that whatsoever without wanting to touch future first.
First of all,
Absolutely not.
Zach Collins is an expiring contract. That is a
Right.
valuable asset. At the
That's
trade
it.
deadline, it will be even more valuable. Again,
Correct.
Bruce Brown was the primary piece that got you Brandon Ingram because he matched the salary, right?
Mm.
So in that theory, Zach Collins can be converted into an actually serviceable player at the trade deadline for a team looking to duck under the tax or duck the apron or whatever. And if the Bulls choose to operate under the tax line and they are able to take back $22-23 million, there's a lot of $22-23 million players in the league. And they're not a second apron team, so they can always aggregate salaries. I think the deal that they really desperately wish they hadn't fucking signed, and the one that they probably want to move off of, is Patrick Williams. Now that might be it. Now, moving off the number 12 pick to get rid of Patrick Williams is like
That's the hard part.
optical. I don't want to say the S word, but it's optically ridiculous, and you will get cooked for it by everybody. You cannot move a lottery pick to get off a bad contract that you literally signed last offseason. So from that perspective, the Raptors will need to help them save face. So the Raptors might need to compensate them with a heavily protected future first plus RJ Barrett for Patrick Williams and the number 12 pick.
Well, you literally just read out one of my other trades that I had. So that's kind of why I led with this one, to kind of contextualize the next part of the conversation, which is what you just jumped to. So you read my mind. So, and I'm not, again, if I'm the Bulls guy, I don't even know if I'm still doing that. I'm just throwing stuff out there to give people an idea of like, these are what Bulls and Raptors GMs are thinking. And if you think he's this value and that value and whatever, go talk to another GM and see what they're saying. And they're going to be laughing you out of the office with your evaluation of what you think this player is. Because it's like, it's not easy to move this guy. And you could, that's for some people, that's enough rationale to just be like, okay, we'll stick with him then. And maybe that's just the case, that we have to stick with it, because and this moves to the other phase of the conversation I wanted to suggest to you was, I feel like, Presti and Marks and Masai, we're seeing how these guys have been operating the last few years. And Masai took the route that was kind of counter to Presti. It was more so Presti was like, give me flexible picks. I don't know who they'll be. I don't care. I can trade them. I can pick with them. They've got 4 firsts next year. It's just, it doesn't matter. They just give me stuff that's flexible and I'll make it work. It's all good. And with Masai, I think he tried to take assets that other people undervalued, acquire them, pay them, and hope they perform and exceed the price that you paid them at. And it's backfired thrice, like it at least in present day, with RJ, with Pirtle, and with Quickly. And again, present day, I believe in Quick. But with what you pay these guys, now you're cornering yourself, saying if they don't match or exceed this price, we're cooked. And like what I see with Brooklyn is they're turning that corner where they're like, okay, we're going to shift into it with our timeline being maybe like a 2028, 2029 type of framework in our mind. And we're going to turn a corner in terms of our culture, what we want. Here's our new head coach, all these different things where you're setting yourself up without making those critical errors in serial over and over back to back. And so you got one guy that went for the draft picks, another guy was trying to flip players, and one guy in Marks who sat back, watched both avenues take place, and he's like, "Yeah, I think getting the picks make the most sense right now because we're a living proof of like, okay, you invested in all these players, but if they're not giving you the results you need in terms of wins, and they're also not performing in the system that's there to buoy their value on the trade market, you're kind of stuck with guys that you believe in more than everybody else, and then you're kind of sitting there twiddling your thumbs, hoping that something happens to somebody, and I like an injury. And I don't like that. I don't like that situation. It doesn't mean I have no faith. I'm just calling it for the way at least I see it.
Yeah. And I think people have a really difficult time, sort of adjusting their mind to what a 20-point per game scorer goes for, because I think we've all kind of grown up thinking that scoring is everything in basketball, and it's just not. And scoring as a team is everything in basketball. And certain guys like Desmond Bain unlock certain guys like Paolo Banchero. And so every team is looking to build the same sort of way. The same philosophy exists. I have a star, be that Paolo, be that Cade, be that whoever. Okay. How can I put players around this star to make my star's job easier? That's what the Boston Celtics did with Drew Holiday and Derek White. Those are not super on-ball guys. Those are guys who come in and make Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's life easier. So it's the same thing that the Thunder did with Shea. You got Cason Wallace, you got Lou Dort, you got Alex Caruso. Those guys are valuable. So when I look around the league, the guys who are in that mold are guys like Herb Jones. The guys who are not in that mold are guys like RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett does not necessarily make life easier for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He takes away from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So when you're thinking about a cocktail, think of it like, I think and this is not for you, obviously, because you totally get it. And I know from our past conversations, you're a very smart guy. But for the people out there who are losing their mind in the chat and are probably going to dislike this video, to you, I would say, if you are lost in the ocean and you are thirsty, what is the last thing you should do? And I'll leave it at that. That's the last thing you should do. It seems smart. It looks like the thing you're supposed to do, but that's not the thing you're supposed to do. You think that scoring more points as a basketball team means adding more 20-point per game scores, but what it actually it comes down to is when you have players who need the basketball to be effective, and it's the same way I look at players in this draft who've never shown me any off-ball awareness, any off-ball tendencies, no cutting, no running in transition, no screen setting. When you take those players out of the context, that's why they fail. Every prospect that ever failed in the NBA draft history probably could have been a lot better if you just gave them the ball. But not everyone's going to get the ball. There's a lot of guys out there in the G League who can fucking put up 20 points per game. People always resent that comment. But if I really, really, really wanted AJ Lawson to be a 20-point per game scorer, and I didn't mind how many games I lost to make that end
Just
happen,
give him the pill.
Just give him the pill. Yeah. Anyways, Michael, any final thoughts, man?
Honestly, last thing, and I'll let you answer this because my opinion is relevant on this thing, is if you saw each and every player outside of that, I guess the top 8, you can argue top 5, top 8, top 2 for sure are locked in. But in terms of where it quote unquote gets flat, as the draft gets flat, who do you think has the highest upside? I know we have a lot of guys that have a very low ceiling and a very high upside as well. But I think there's a guy I have my eyes on where I'm like, if he just figures out any consistent form of an offensive game, it's GG, it's over. But
who is
like for me, it's CMB. If he figures out an offensive go-to type of thing, you can't teach that type of defense, that size, that fastest hands, and it's scary, it's lethal. And if he figures out any form of shot, I'm talking give him even a Ron Artest repertoire. It's scary. It's really, really scary. So, but that's one of those guys where, again, if he doesn't figure out a shot, then you've got a guy who's a gifted passer, a really good defender, but you can leave him open. And you just don't really want Tony Allen with passing out there per se, like maybe Draymond style, where it's like, okay, let's leave him wide open and he's scared to shoot. But again, I don't know enough about him to tell what kind of work ethic he's got in terms of like his ability to go and step up and add that to his game. But I'll let you answer.
He got a lot better, for sure. Year 1 and year 2, and I think the context around him got worse. I think his team got worse, and he got better. That's really hard to do. That's insanely hard to do. Look at a lot of players around who had the type of help and situation that he had, and everyone's sitting there making all sorts of excuses for them and whatever. He is not what was wrong with South Carolina this year. Not at all. He was amazing. And for all the non-shooting stuff, and people look at the volume 3-point attempts and they say, "Oh, you didn't shoot threes." Bro, this guy's a good scorer. He's a really good scorer.
Yep.
And people don't seem to understand that. I say this respectfully. I love Scotty as a prospect. Colin Murray Boyles has a better face-up game than Scotty did at the same stage. He's just better at beating his guy off the dribble. His dribble is pretty compact. He takes bumps. He's not awkward on his finishes. I mean, he can do some stuff. He's not nearly as bursty an athlete as Scotty. He's not nearly as big an athlete as Scotty. He doesn't have 7'4" wingspan or whatever, but he's a big dude. And he has a lot more in common with Draymond, but I feel like he also has like a dynamicism and shift and verve to his game and a creativity to his game as a scorer that Draymond did not have. And so it's just like, yeah, I like that Ron Artest comparison. I really like Colin Murray Boyles. If CMB is the player tomorrow that we pick, I'm not gonna be mad at all. Not gonna be mad at all. I like him a lot.
Second on my board after Carter Bryant. He's second on my board. I'll let you go do your thing, brother.
All right, man. Peace. Okay. We got a lot of callers, so we're gonna try to bring y'all on. We have lost one person, Scrimple the Pimple. I'm so sorry, Scrimple the Pimple. You seemed like maybe Shrimple the Pimple. You seemed like maybe you were a troll, and I apologize. I'm reading your private chat. You're not a troll. You said Malawach over Carter at 9 as a question mark. I would say no. I preferred Carter, but I really wouldn't be mad at Malawach at all. Said Herb trade, please, so I can sleep. That's what you said. There's also, we lost another caller, Mohammed Hassan, but let's bring on Sam. Sam, what's up?
Yo, I have a few things I'd like to go through. I came in late, so I don't know if you probably already went through it, but RJ and the 9 for Cam, and then whoever else we can get from that. If you want to sell the house, like not necessarily sell the house, but get another first round pick in there.
Are you a Nets fan?
No.
Bulls
No,
fan?
I think RJ is better than Cam Johnson.
You think RJ is better than Cam Johnson? Are you a Raptor fan?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
I think RJ is better than Cam Johnson, but
so you want to trade RJ for Cam Johnson? Sorry, RJ and 9 for Cam Johnson, but you think RJ is better than Cam Johnson? Why would you ever do that?
Yeah, but the picks, you would get picks back. You'd get 19 and 27 back.
So you're moving down from 9 to 19 and 27. You do realize the Nets now also have 22.
Yeah. Like,
okay, so let's remove RJ and Cam from this. Would you do 9 for 19 and 22?
Yeah, like I prefer. I don't think like I don't really think the draft's that great post 7.
Okay, who are your top 7?
Me, like I think the best we're going to get at 9.
No, I just need to understand who your top 7 is because you said the draft falls off at 7. So I need to understand who are these 7 players. That's all I want.
Yeah, like the top 7 probably be like
Cooper.
Yeah,
Dylan.
Cooper. I don't know if Ace Bailey's like what is Ace Bailey? You know, like what is that even about?
I don't understand the question. Is this like some sort of metaphysical question? Like, what is the meaning of Ace Bailey? What is the essence of Ace Bailey? I don't know, man. He's a hooper. Who is Ace Bailey? I don't know.
Yeah.
You want him to fall? You want him to fall to 9? I'm confused, bro. And we've lost you. My bad. Mohammed, I'm going to ask you to turn on your headphones because I can hear myself background. If that's okay with you, check back in whenever you want. I'm going to run a quick poll and see who y'all want in the draft tomorrow. And if Mohammed is not back real soon, we will call it a day. And to answer the somewhat, interesting question of who is Ace Bailey, I don't know, man. You got me in a real metaphysical sort of like existential crisis mode right now. Like, who is Ace Bailey? Who am I? Who is life? What's up? I don't know. What's up. I want to do a lot more polls tomorrow. Like, get y'all more engaged because we're gonna have like 800 to 1,000 people in here tomorrow. Just a reminder to anyone who does not know. Open secret. We got a live tomorrow. We got multiple lives tomorrow. I'm gonna give you the full. I'm gonna share with you real quick. This is my last big board. Okay, this is like the last one. This is not the current one. It has moved around a lot, but this is what my last big board looked like. I had Cooper, Dylan, Carter, VJ, Malawat. It's moved around a lot. I promise you. Noah was 12th last time we checked. He is higher today. Or maybe he's lower. You'll have to check it out tomorrow. So that is gonna come. WYSO, what's up, man?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You have a podcast mic in your picture. Great. That's what I want to hear. What's good?
Cool. You got me thinking. I was listening to pretty much your whole life tonight, and you got me thinking about the team comp of the Raps.
Sure.
And I really like Pirtle at 9 for us. And he's obviously we're way more efficient and we're a way better team when he's on the court, just based on stats from the past couple seasons.
Sure.
But obviously you're a big advocate for getting a stretch big on this team to play next to Scotty, BI.
Depending on what else that stretch big is. If that stretch big is
also a good post defender.
I don't know how much I value post defense as opposed to switch off ball defense. Like, obviously in an ideal world, you have Chet and you have Isaiah Hartenstein, right? In an ideal world, you have both so that you have options, right? That's how you got to win. I mean, what did the Pacers not have that the Thunder had, right? They had options that, frankly, their bag was deeper, their toolkit was bigger, right? So that's how I see basketball as like a multi-positional thing. I don't know if you watch Player's Choice. Do you?
Just recently I started watching some.
Cool. So we had something called the PCL earlier this year, and I was debating one of the dudes from Nerd Sesh, and we had a debate between which team was deeper, OKC and Memphis, and I chose OKC. And my big argument for that, which nobody gave me real points for, which I think I was robbed, and I'm still pissed and salty about it, is the fact that OKC's defenders are chameleons. They can They can shapeshift. Cason Wallace is both a 3 and a 2 and a 4 and a 1, depending on which you need him to be. Chet is both a 3, a 4, and a 5, depending on where you need him to be defensively. There's really very few players that are locked into a position on OKC, and the only one really is Isaiah Hartenstein, because even Alex Caruso was guarding Nikola Jokic in Game 7. That was the big switch. That was the big scheme. So I look at a drop big, like a Kaman Malawatch, and my only thing is what happens when they put a stretch big on the court, and now our zone and our drop defense is somewhat limited, and now I'm getting schemed. And if you're a $35 million player and I don't have a great backup behind you, now I'm kind of stuck playing you, and now you're just going to get mismatch hunted to death. This is kind of like where the league is going right now. And I'm sure at some point, I've been talking a lot to him. We're going to probably have Jacoby Strainer come on about why NBA injuries are on a rise. And part of it is just because of how players are moving. And part of that is because of how skilled players are. We're having bigs doing crossovers, like in the open court. Like, this is not normal. Wemby,
let's not forget the low top shoes.
Oh, yeah. The low top shoes, the number 0, the conspiracies. Yes.
Yeah.
But, like the planting and all that stuff. But really, like, what made the Pacers so successful is certainly not their fucking talent. It's partially their coaching, but it's partially because they have 5 guys who can dribble, pass, and shoot. And so when you go up against a team like that, a guy like Kaman is really useless. And I don't mean to be rude to Kaman, but like, unless he can become a really, really good switch defender on the perimeter, and he can allocate himself very well to the shooters, and he has good off. So it's almost like defensively, is there actually a more valuable defender in this draft than Cooper Flag, Noah Essengue, and maybe Carter Bryant? Like those are the guys. Yeah, and CMB. Like those 4 guys are like the multi-positional guys. And if Noah Essengue is very special in one way defensively, and I wonder if the Raptors have just kind of honed in on this, he can get really skinny around screens. So he actually has this weirdly Tayshaun Prince-esque ability to guard players who are way smaller than him. I have no idea if that would translate to the NBA because he just played in the 5th toughest league in Europe. But my view on it is the competition he went up against is pretty close to Division I basketball. So what he did there is pretty close to what he would probably do at Texas. This is my read on it. And also, when he was 17, he faced the Portland Trailblazers, granted not fully healthy, and I think he had like 17 points in 20 minutes. So, I mean, he's gone up against an NBA team and done pretty well. So, I don't know, but like he has this ability to get skinny, and he can also protect the rim. I think Noah Essengue, you know, it's weird. Does he have a lot in common with Chet Holmgren? Kind of like physically, a little bit, right? Like is this kind of like Chet Holmgren with bad PR? So yeah, like, and who knows at 18, if he grows to 7 feet tall, like shit, the Raptors might actually be cooking with this pick. I have no idea. So we'll see. But yes, I value that. Sorry to stretch out your question.
No, it's all good. I agree with everything you just said, and that was all good info. But I was just gonna ask, I guess the quick follow-up one is, who from this draft and who currently in the NBA that is like a realistic trade target fits the mold for your sort of ideal 5 next to Scotty, IQ, and Ingram? So a guy that's like, and I'm not talking about ceiling or like current NBA readiness. I just mean like style-wise, what they do on defense and offense in this draft and in the NBA, like one of each, just like a rough sort of comp of what you would be looking for.
Okay, great. In the NBA, Victor Wembanyama.
Okay.
In the draft,
I said realistic.
Oh,
is there?
I'm
no
tethered to reality now. Fuck. Okay.
Okay, fine. Semi-realistic.
Well, realistically, okay, I'm thinking a big who can shoot reasonably
and can switch on defense, I guess. Perimeter
can switch and be reasonable in drop. I'm thinking Bam Adebayo. I don't know how realistic that is, but Bam.
Maybe
Jaren
he's
Jackson, maybe a little bit, because I mean, you have Brandon Ingram, you have Scotty Barnes. So far, you have IQ. None of these guys are bad rebounders for their position, so maybe you can compensate for a big who's not necessarily the greatest rebounder. Don't really love Miles Turner's fortitude. And you know what's fucked? Like, I should love Miles Turner because Miles Turner loves Lego, and I love Lego. I should love every person in the world who loves Lego, but I don't love Miles Turner for some reason. So that's just weird to me. But nevertheless, Miles Turner is a free agent this offseason. Who knows what will happen with the Pacers? They now obviously face a very different season ahead without Tyrese.
Are they in the same situation as the Celtics, or are they
not even close? Not even close. The Celtics situation is frankly compounded by the fact that they were bought by some very money-hungry assholes who really did not buy this team to lose money. And this Jason Tatum injury merely did. I mean, honestly, I would have put money that they were going to sell at least 1 or 2 of these guys for nothing the minute they bought this team. But the Tatum injury, optically at least, makes it far, far, far more politically okay to do this. I think everyone's like, oh, I guess they're tanking for AJ Debonsa. I expect them to pull out some crazy stops. I actually would be calling them for Sam Hauser. In terms of, Bam Adebayo is the guy. Bam would be the guy. Bam's a really great switch defender. Bam is, a decent shooter. Not the greatest three-point shooter, but he takes some shots. I don't like Domantas Sabonis, although he started taking some threes last year. Evan Mobley would be actually perfect. Not realistic at all, but perfect.
Right. We would need to give up our entire draft.
You would need to give up every pick you have and probably every player you have. Like Evan Mobley's untouchable as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, let's just say we had an Evan Mobley on our team, or someone that's like half as good but similar style of play as our 5. We've got Barnes.
You know a player that I like that maybe isn't exactly what I'm describing, but a player that is realistic. Day'Ron Sharpe. I really like Day'Ron Sharpe.
Oh, can he stretch? I haven't really seen him play much. I've mostly just watched Claxton.
No, not really. He's not really a great shooter, but you'd have to sort of teach that with him. And it's not necessarily like, beggars can't be choosers. You're not exactly, like you'd be signing him for close to the mid-level if they didn't match. He's a restricted free agent, so we'll see if they match. But there's already a relationship with Scotty there. They played in high school together. He's a good player. Okay,
I know a lot of people are really high on him, and he's a great value player.
Yeah.
But what do you think about Kaman's stretch ability?
I
do you trust
really, I really trust his shooting, man. I don't know. I don't know why I trust it, but I've seen a lot of open gym work with him where no edits, no cuts. He'll make like 15, 12, 15 straight threes. And he was doing that when he was 17 years old. So I just see like no reason for him not to do that. I see touch. Like when I see touch, I see touch. Like there's no reason to bet against this guy for shooting. And it's just like bigs are often
his shot
so
form
much.
is good. I like his form.
His form is good. Yeah. Kirk Royce saying, I think Asa Newell could be this. I don't think so, man. I don't know. Asa Newell is one player that I really, really want to refresh on just in case the Raptors do end up really breaking the internet and picking him tomorrow. Because there's been some rumors about him. Sam Vecini said that. Sam Vecini said, I'm hearing some Noah Essengue and some Asa Newell stuff. And I was like, bro, if Sam Vecini ruins one more draft for me, I'm going to snap. Because that Scotty Barnes zero-level scorer shit was pretty disgusting.
He said Danny Wolf too.
Oh yes, he did say Danny Wolf. That.
Oof. What if we trade down? What if we trade down to 19? Is Danny Wolf a bad pick there?
Here's a question for you. Do you think? And again, I'm very high on PENSARE at 39 if he falls. I am not.
That would be amazing at 39.
Yeah, like if our mock draft actually comes true, that'd be amazing. Do you think, given where we are politically, in the situation in the world that I'm not going to really reference, do you think that the Raptors have the balls to pick a player from Israel?
Yeah, if he's what they want, like if he checks a lot of their boxes, I don't think the politics matter.
I think the politics have always mattered to this team.
Really?
But you know what? That's just me. Who knows? But
I'm honestly just thinking more from my own point of view. I'm not really looking through the visor of Raptors front office when saying that. I just know that that's the pick I would make if he checked all the boxes
I would pick him too, but like, look, I was the same guy last year saying we need to go with Denny Avdia. We need to go with Denny Avdia, and then Denny Avdia had an Israeli flag in his locker, and people just completely snapped. So yeah, it's a distraction. It is unfortunate that that's kind of where we are in the world, but you can't deny where we are in the world.
100% agree.
You know, so yeah, like I mean, it's not necessarily a tit for tat comparison, but you know, if a player comes out and has a homophobic comment, or it was the same thing with Ime Udoka. Like I remember this with Ime, where he said he didn't really want to come to the Raptors because he wanted to deal with the media. And I have no idea if that's completely true because I didn't hear him say it, but that was the reporting that he didn't want to come to Toronto because he had the scandal. This media is very toxic. I say that, like, he is just very toxic. So yeah, D1 S1 saying Danny Wolf is Jewish too. Yes, he's very, very proud. Very, very proud a Jewish person. He has Israeli citizenship. So yeah, like be prepared to deal with that fucking question all year. You know, in the Toronto media, how does your Jewish
it hasn't been
faith
affecting Portland with Denny that much.
Portland is a completely different media market. Completely
that's a good point.
People, very different sensibilities. New York is very different as well, ethnically, politically, very different. A lot of Jewish people in New York. I feel like this city has a very different leaning on this situation in terms of where they lean politically. And I don't like to turn this into a political podcast, and it's not a political podcast. I'm just saying,
I know what you mean.
Does this kind of stuff eliminate certain players from your draft because you just don't want that player to have to go through that? It's almost like you're trying to save the player from your own media and your own fan base for being the toxic assholes that they are. Because let's be honest, like what the Raptors fans did, and there's not really blasting anybody, but that it's a black stain with that, you know, Pascal change.org shit. People still bring it up to this day. That is toxic as fuck. Like the bubble reaction to Pascal, and he, you know, had this quote the other day, which I swore I was going to address on a live, where he said he had some dark days, lost his joy for basketball, found his light again in Indiana, et cetera, et cetera. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, man,
that's super controversial. A lot of people are not happy about that one.
That he said
I'm not as pressed about it as they are.
That he said that?
Yeah, a lot of people are pressed that he said that because they just think it means that he just doesn't care about Toronto or whatever.
I didn't interpret it that way at all. I felt bad for him. I felt truly, truly sad for him that he felt that the organization sort of, you know, turned on him a little bit. And I certainly understand why he felt that way. Masai Ujiri himself kind of said that he kind of ghosted him. And That's not good. That's not good. Your 1 star left and your 2 stars who really, really wanted to be here, DeMar and Siakam, both left really sad about leaving. And that's not great. But I think the Raptors did right by him. I'm happy for him. Got to go to the championship, played reasonably well in the finals. I think a lot of people who looked at him as a Kawhi sidekick maybe right now are looking at him more like a franchise cornerstone for the Indiana Pacers. We'll see how he does next year without Halliburton, but I know Pascal is capable of putting up 25 points, 100%. So that is cool, and I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for us too. I got to I got to say, things were not really good with him around here either.
That was a win-win situation. I think we needed to get off of him, and I think he's in a much better situation that suits his play style, and I'm glad that he feels
100%.
revitalized. And
whatever. Any final thoughts, man?
Yeah, the where I was going with the whole like center thing. Is it, so you talk about how we probably need a floor spacing center that just fits better with Scotty and whatever.
Sure.
Right now we do the sort of like hub big play style, like through Pirtle, and like you said, he's not an amazing passer, but he's sufficient. He can do a good enough job.
He's okay.
That's the offense that we run. We run through the big kind of. Is that a Darko thing?
Yeah. 100%.
Do you think that that's something that he should adjust, and that he should, like, front office should push him to adjust? And like, if we do go the route of a stretch big, like obviously major changes need to happen there. Like, do you think he's capable of changing the offense that drastically?
There's no other place to use Jakob necessarily other than, look, the dribble handoff stuff that Jakob does allows him to exist on a court that requires spacing, because it allows him to not be a detriment to your spacing, because he's consistently moving, flashing, cutting, screening, creating openings. And this sort of jigsaw puzzle in the middle is consistently creating gaps for players to cut back doors. So Jakob is doing the thing that most optimizes Jakob. Now, are you going to pay Jakob for most being optimized, even though it is technically to your detriment? Is Jakob really helping Scotty Barnes in a pick and roll when I know 100% of the time it's going to be a roll and not a pop? I don't know. Obviously, Pascal Siakam brought it up when he got to Indiana that he always dreamt of playing with a big like Miles Turner, and he's not wrong. That ability to manipulate a pick and roll when you, as the second defender on the do not know which way the offensive player is going to go. You can't anticipate that, it's always going to be a roll, or it's always going to be a screen away and then a back cut. Like the fact that you have that ability creates more of a gap for the player with the basketball to actually navigate and get to the paint. You're always occupied with Yak's defender in the paint. And granted, he does a good enough job compensating for it to some extent. It would be so much better if he could hit a jump shot from 18 feet, man. It doesn't even have to be 3. Even if he could pop from 18 feet, he would be more of a threat there that could lift his guy up, and it creates more of a cutting angle for RJ. More of a cutting angle. Yak complicates shit. I don't like giving up 3 picks, granted 2 of which were second-round picks and 1 was a lottery pick, for players who are not perfect for my program. Yak was not perfect.
He had to adjust. The offense had to adjust to his style too much.
Yeah, and it's not like he's some elite rim protector. I mean, if you want to compare right now, Jakob Poeltl versus Kristaps Porzingis, okay, Yak makes 19 million, Kristaps Porzingis makes 30 million. Both are technically expiring, right? Yak's in his final deal, and then I think he has a player option after this year, which he's going to decline, and then he's going to try to renegotiate for 25. Okay, which player do teams value more? I don't know.
Porzingis.
I'm assuming Porzingis, because he's a better defender and a better offensive player. What does Porzingis do worse than Jakob Poeltl?
You can run pick and pops.
You can pick and pop with him. You can run post ups. The only drawback here is, I mean, Kristaps younger too. By the way,
I thought they're the same age. Yeah, they're both
30.
Same year. Yeah, they're both like 28 or 29.
Why do I think Kristaps is younger?
I think if anything, Kristaps is like a couple of months older or something.
He's definitely not. He is 29 years old. He will be 30, however, on August. Oh, okay. So he will be 30 on August 2nd. And Jakob, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, has already turned 30. No, he's 29. Holy shit. You are correct. Yeah. So Kristaps Porzingis is a month. 2 months. 2 months older than Jakob Poeltl. Okay, I stand corrected. Point being, I think He's a better rim
Porzingis
protector.
holds more value for sure.
He's a better player, just considerably better player. And they got nothing for him right now, right? Nothing.
Yeah,
They had to salary dump him. And so that's kind of the point. It's like, that's the perfect.
You would have to
that,
trade Jakob to like a desperate team that needs a center, like a Suns or whatever.
It has to be Phoenix. It would have to be Phoenix or Chicago, Phoenix. Yeah, ironically, teams with lottery picks. Let's make it happen. But it seems like the Raptors are beauty in the eye of the beholder. I just think with, again, with Scotty alone, it was complicated. With Scotty plus BI, it's really complicated. When I think of Scotty BI, I think of post hubs. They're both post hubs. They're high post hubs and low post hubs. They can play high-low, two-man action. But how much easier is that two-man action that they could play in the middle of the floor when Scotty's a screener if you have a pick and pop big? Like, to me, you asked me the perfect big to play with Scotty. You know who it is? Marc Gasol. Perfect big.
Is there anyone like that in the NBA currently?
There just aren't a lot, man.
Yeah.
Thomas Sorber could become that, though. If the shooting
I've heard a lot of
around,
people are less confident on his stretch
ability to shoot.
Yeah,
I'm gonna trust him. He seems like a really.
I really love his interior game a lot.
Yeah. Anyways, man, any final thoughts?
Nope, that's it. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Mohammed Hassan, final caller. What's up?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good.
So, obviously Memphis is tearing it up. If the Raptors wanted to get,
obvious?
I just feel like they're. I don't know. I just feel like they traded Bane. Maybe they just want to get younger again. Just rebuild again.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's obvious that they're tearing it down at all.
Yeah, but if they are even if they're not, do you think Toronto has any chance about getting Jaren Jackson from them?
Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson. Sorry.
No. And actually, it's funny because the last guy, when he called and he asked what's the perfect big for Scotty, and I didn't think of this player, and I'm glad that you're here because I think Santi Aldama is great for Scotty, and that's a player that I would really want on that team. In terms of Jaren Jackson, I think you would have to give up a lot. You would probably be giving up a lot of pick equity, and they would have to want to move off of him. It would be he has one more year at $23 million. So the RJ for Jaren Jackson would work as a swap. Naturally, you would have to get an agreement from his camp that he's willing to sign an extension. He has had some of the worst playoff dips in the history of the world. Like, it's bad. Him, actually, Desmond Bane last 2 years have been pretty bad too in the playoffs. But yes, Jaren Jackson in the playoffs looks like a fucking spook. Like, he looks spooked. So it is not great. And if I'm going to park $35-40 million into a player, I need to know that you're a 16-game player. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Mentally, just not there. But shot blocker, great. And he's kind of got some dynamicism off the dribble now. He's got some face-up game. He's a very, very competent four. But he actually has a lot more in common with Scotty Barnes than we realize. So it's almost like having a little bit of two Scotties, but one of them can pass and the other one can shoot. I don't know. He's a bad rebounder too. Scotty's a good rebounder, so yeah. But I think he could play. He could play five. There aren't a lot of dominant fives, but and Scotty has shown the willingness in the past to guard a Jokic. But do you really want your best player playing so out of position? I don't.
Yeah, I agree with you. And plus, Scotty really needs a. I don't know. I feel like he's always getting injured every time he's in the paint. He's getting pounded on. He needs somebody that can really help him in the paint. And I know Jakob's there, but I feel like Podol's is just getting a little older. And I don't know. Toronto needs to they need to find a true big. And I don't think there's any in the draft. So for me personally, I would trade for Walker Kessler or somebody, but I just don't have the patience to develop another young guy again.
Walker Kessler. Who do you prefer, Walker Kessler or Kaman Malowich? If you could have either one.
I'm gonna go with Walker Kessler because I've seen what he can do in the NBA, and when he versed Toronto, he really dominated us today. He had 20-something rebounds, and he was just killing us in the paint.
I would go with Kaman Malowich. So that's interesting. That's kind of where we're at. Walker is also 24 years old. Kaman is 18. And I think, honestly, by the age of 20, I think he's going to be a better player. But hey, this is why, the GMs get paid the big bucks and, I get paid in super chats. Anyways, any final thoughts?
The only final thought is do you think Toronto needs to add some maybe defensive assistant coaches? Because our defense really isn't that good. I just feel I don't know. I don't feel like Darko really pays a lot of attention to defense. Or what do you think?
I think they devoted an entire year to defense last year, and I think they got a lot better by the end of the year. They were a top 4 defense for the last 44 games. So yeah, I don't agree. Anyways, man, thanks a lot for calling in. Appreciate you. Okay. I think, to be kind, again, I want to bring this up because I wear it as a badge of honor. It is a superpower. I do have Asperger's, and sometimes when I'm on a call where I strongly disagree with somebody, it's very, very hard for me to not come off as arrogant, condescending, rude, a lot of comments, right? But to all the callers, let me try to be political when I say this, to all callers and to all people and to all of God's people, I will say, don't always trust your feelings, because sometimes the facts are very different than your feelings. And always, this is why I say, like, my feelings, warm, fuzzy feelings towards Masai, Ujiri, Bobby Webster, this entire team, they are very important to me. It makes it enjoyable to cover this team. It makes it easy to root for this team. Makes it easy to not pull your hair out when the team is losing. Continue to do your job, right? And you say that to say that, okay, but at the end of the day, Sean Marks is cooking up a storm and they own 17% of the picks in the first round. That doesn't matter. My feelings don't matter. That's a fact. They got, if the Nets pick a better player, like who's 3 times better than the Raptors player at 9, it doesn't matter that I root for the guy at 9 better, or I root for him more. The guy at 8 is better. It doesn't matter that 40 teams passed on Nikola Jokic. It doesn't matter. 40 teams. Fuck them. It doesn't matter that the NBA decided to flash a Taco Bell commercial, which is ironic because Carter Bryant brought that up today, talking about where he'll be drafted. And he said, I don't watch that stuff. I don't look at mock drafts. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the league, and he was drafted during a fucking Taco Bell commercial. Nobody cares about that stuff. I believe that. I truly do believe that. But at the end of the day, the fact is a fact. It doesn't matter you're 41st pick. You're the best player in the NBA. That's the fact. The feelings around it are irrelevant. You think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a foul baiter. That's your feeling. But the fact is, one of the 3 best players in the game. Paul George said today, best guard season since Michael Jordan. Still an opinion. Very valid, though. He has a point. He certainly has a point. I don't agree with it, but he has a point. He has a case to make. Your feelings don't matter that much. I think that's a huge part of being adult and growing up, is realizing our feelings don't really matter very much in terms of, like, they matter to us. It matters to me. It matters to me that Scotty Barnes is, really talented, and I think he's super underrated. It doesn't seem to matter to anybody else. It doesn't matter to anybody on the panel. They'd be like, shut up about Scotty Barnes, bro. That's the point. Like, your feelings don't matter that much. So you can feel like RJ Barrett's a good defender. The tape doesn't lie. You can feel like the Raptors don't care about defense and they need a defensive coordinator like Muhammad did, but the tape doesn't lie. The Raptors actually did a great job building up their defense throughout the year, right? But a lot of people, and to the final point of tonight, thank you to the thousands of people who have checked into this live. I did not expect such a, it was very last minute. It was very late. We're at 1:30 in the morning. We got 450 people in here. That's pretty cool. I guess a lot of people are very antsy about the draft, or maybe a lot of people have tuned in because, y'all watched our mock draft, which was dope. But to this, to my final point is, tomorrow, whatever happens, please know that whatever my reaction is, I am not condescending, stupid, or obtuse or conceited enough to think that I know more than the Raptors. I simply accept that I might have a different opinion. I'm not saying my opinion has an equal chance of being right. I'm just saying my opinion matters to me, and that's what it's going to be. So tomorrow I'm going to give you my honest thoughts. And, if the Charlotte Hornets fuck up, I'm going to tell you the Charlotte Hornets fucked up. And I'm going to write it on my board. I'm going to write it on my thing, because I got to tell you, like, this is kind of a weird thing, and I just want to close this live with this, right? I'm sorry to kind of waterboard y'all, like, to the ending, but I'm just trying to get this off my chest. I have said a lot of things over the last 3 to 4 years that have been very, very poorly received, very controversial at times. Nothing hateful necessarily, in my opinion, but, things that have not been well received. Things about Siakam that were not well received. When I said he's not a top 10 player, never going to be a championship number one, not well received. Fred VanVleet, selfish, not well received. A lot of things I've said were not well received. Cade Cunningham probably has a skill set better suited to a 6-man role. That's what I said last year when the Pistons were in the midst of a 20-game losing streak. Yeah, age like fucking milk. This year, all NBA. Fuck me, right? Stupid. But in all of those things that I've said, there's been so much pushback, so many people, and I've gotten a little bit numb to it, but I also have to acknowledge as a human being that I've probably been shaped by it in some degree, right? I got ruthlessly cooked by people who were very, very excited about Grady Dick on draft night when I kind of ducked my head under because I was disappointed. I was disappointed that we picked the 20th guy on my board. And I warmed up to Grady pretty quickly after watching some high school tape of him and watching a little bit more Kansas tape. But, you know, in the moment, you react the way you react. People hate you for it. They get mad. They want to be excited. You're kind of killing their vibe. You're killing their mood. You know, the Raptors would win a game against Charlotte where Fred VanVleet would have 20 and 20, and I'd call him selfish. And people would be like, what? He just had 20 assists. How can you call him selfish? Yeah, because that's how I felt. And, you know, it's interesting. I was really proud of that podcaster. What would make me unproud of myself as a podcaster and probably make me want to quit this is the minute I start going on the panel or start going on these lives and start trying to censor myself and trying to anticipate how something I'm going to say is going to be conceived or perceived by somebody else, and then trying to adjust what I say to fit the response that I want so that I don't want to deal with the bullshit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say what I feel and I'm going to deal with it. That's the way I've always operated my whole life. I really don't know how else to be. In any other way usually makes me upset with myself. That why didn't I say that? I should have said that. So you know what? I'm going to say what I feel tomorrow. And if the Raptors pick Danny Wolf, fuck, you're probably going to hear me swear a lot. And if the Raptors pick Asa Newell, I promise you, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best to research a shit. I'm not talking out of my ass, bro. I'm not someone who just fucking went and watched 2 Georgia games and I'm like, nah, this guy's a bum. I didn't just watch a highlight reel. I'm watching full games because I wanted to make sure that whatever I said, and you know, here's the thing. I think if you're going to speak freely and confidently, you better back it up. You better know what you're fucking talking about. You can't just talk out of your ass about these players. You better do the research. You better do the numbers. And if you are going to criticize the work of professional scouts, if you are going to have the nerve to question the judgment of one of the best general managers in the league and one of the best presidents in the league, championship organization, if you are going to have the nerve to critique their 39th pick, you better have done more than 2 minutes of homework on the player you're talking about, because otherwise, what are you? You're just an idiot on Twitter reacting off the cuff. And I don't want to be that. So shout out to all of you. Thank you for tuning in. 2 hours, 37 minutes. Please give this video a like. Sorry for all the soul searching stuff and the existential shit. Talk to y'all later. Peace.